Chapter 1164, Invincible Acts. Chapter 1164, Invincible Acts. Proofreader, Papatonks. Rumble. Lightning snaked through the clouds with a low rumble, like the growl of a beast. The sky turned white in the distance. That was where the god of the Sword Star Empire, Bailey Wuxia, was in seclusion. Even with the public square drowned in battle and killing, the powerful explosions left the people deafened. Zhuo Fan still stood straight on the scaffold, his eyes fixed on the thunder and lightning, waiting along with Bailey Jingwei. With a draconic roar, Dan Qingxin struck, turning the thousands of experts in front to floating ashes. With music, Zither Sword King's 7 notes obscure sword turned his enemies into mush. Wine Sword Immortal spurted wine, unleashing a firestorm that left nothing behind. The three worked together to stop the endless flood of soldiers looking grave. They knew Zhuo Fan was there, but they uttered no complaint. They knew kings went for kings and generals against generals. The Dark Demon Lord's opponent had yet to come. Rumble. A purple lightning flared and Shower stepped in front of Bali Yuyu. Bali Yuyu blocked, making it a draw. Glaring at the purple-haired girl, Bali Yuyu patted. Where did the punk find such a weird expert, so young and so abnormally strong? I was thinking of throwing the fight with this girl for his sake. It's clear now that I was overthinking things. The girl is so ruthless that me going easy will get me killed. Curses, didn't the punk tell his people to go easy on me? Humph, he forgot everything then. Sister Yu. The purple girl giggled, teasing, it's been a while but you're still as strong. What? Bali Yuyu gave her a long look, and you're? Forgot me already? And you even fake being my mother. Shower. Bali Yuyu started, her eyes wide, you're all grown up and so strong too? Just like your old man and human. I never was a human though. Shower snickered to herself, Sister Yu, we had a good time back then and always considered you one of us. The Empire is done for, so why not join us? Stop spouting nonsense, the Empire won't fall. Bali Yuyu flared, then frowned in worry and hesitation. She was of Bailey. The others could betray, but for her to switch sides out of the blue, she'd feel guilty. The patriarch might have been harsh on her, but he was never cruel. How could she betray him without a good reason? Shower smiled, fine, since you haven't made up your mind, I won't force you. Once the Empire falls, why not stay with us? Hey girlie, wake up. Our Empire's armies have you surrounded. Worry about. Are those your armies? Shower cut her off, pointing. Bali Yuyu looked over to find a shocking scene. What's going on? Bali's sword kings were all on the ground, battered and wounded. Murong Lai's side held them with a cold stare. In merely minutes, the result between the two sides was in an overwhelming victory. Bali Yuyu stared dumbly. Why are Devil Palace's people so strong? Sister Yu, over the last century, besides me and brother helping father as Dharma kings, those 3 coots have been doing nothing but being in seclusion to learn the sword with father, ignoring everything else. Shower cocked her head. Think about it, what kind of people are they really? Stuck together every day testing their sword skills and getting dad's hints, their power sword. They're now stronger than even a sword king. I picked you as my opponent just so those geezers wouldn't hurt you. I've been easy on you already, he. Bali Yuyu's face twitched. You went easy? Of course, why do you think you're still standing there? Ugh, fine. Feeling sweat trickling down, Bali Yuyu figured out the truth and felt like she aged then and there. The new replaces the old. That same cute child turned out to be going easy on me. The Emperor, Bailey Jingshi, was dumbstruck, slumping in his throne. It's all over. All sword kings. Bailey Jingwei gave him a look, then clenched his fists, waiting as his eyes refused to give up. Bam. With the last explosion, Shangguan Feiyun fell among the other sword kings of the Empire. Shangguan Feixiong and Murong Lai walked up, looking down on them. Ouyang Chongqing chuckled, pointing at Bailey Jingtian, what's wrong? Now you know how even 100 years isn't too late for a gentleman's revenge, lone arm sword king. Just kill me already? Bailey Jingtian huffed. Ouyang Chongqing sneered. Shangguan Feixiong stared at Shangguan Feiyun. Feiyun, you betrayed the clan and it's my duty as the elder to take you back and be punished. I have nothing to say to you. Shangguan Feiyun closed his eyes, his fists still clenched, his scarred and bloody face desolate. Shangguan Feixiong cupped his hands. People, leave Shangguan Feiyun to me. The rest can be Devil Palace's captives and yours to do what you like. They all nodded. Thunder exploded just as they were about to be taken in from far in the distance. A flash of purple passed and a violent surge spread over the battlefield. Tiets, they all shuddered at the familiar pressure. Bailey Jingwei lit up, cackling, "Ha, finally? Our patron god is here. Zhuo Fan, Devil Palace is finished." Whoosh! The purple glow flew up like a lightning dragon, dyeing the entire sky in purple. A thunderstorm began brewing above, sending its pressure on all below. Invincible sword Bailey Yutian is still alive. Patriarch. Murong Lai shouted while Bailey Yuyun's side was overjoyed, hope at victory restored. As long as the Patriarch remained, the empire endured. Danqing Shen was fending of the army when he looked grave at the purple glow. The invincible sword hadn't been seen for a century and was thought to be dead. Now he makes his appearance. This is bad, but... Many turned to Zhuo Fan hopeful. Bam. Murong Lai ignored everything and shot at the purple glow with battle spirit. "Invincible sword, the best in the world. After 100 years, I've come to challenge you after the last defeat." "We as well." The others ignored the wounded sword kings and followed Murong Lai into the sky, their blazing thirst for battle blinding. Even Qiaoer ended up going, Bali Yuyu not stopping her. Everyone else blinked in stunned silence. Do they think 7 together can defeat Patriarch? No, they don't care about winning, only fighting. But what's the point in fighting a losing battle? The Sword Kings looked at the 7 and began to understand the mystery of the strong. Whoosh! The purple glow passed through the 7 and slammed into the center of the square, revealing a thin armor, a cape and an aged face. His eyes stared like daggers, the strongest, the invincible sword. Bang! The subsequent thunderclaps made the 7 pummel to the ground as they trailed blood. They groaned and coughed more blood, slumping in their own blood. Chapter 1165, Peak Showdown. Chapter 1165, Peak Showdown. Proofreader, Papatonks. Oh. An oppressive silence fell, with only the howling wind's presence being known as it fluttered the old man's white hair. There were no shouts, no clashes on the square. Even Danqing Shen's group of 3 stopped. All eyes were on the old man, built like a god, with sharp eyes and a deadly aura. It only took one moment for the Dharma Kings and 2 emissaries to be on the ground, wounded. Behold the power of the invincible sword. He's the living proof that the Sword Star Empire shall never fall. All of the Empire's soldiers were filled with worship and respect, while everyone else saw him as a monster. Ling Yuntian felt regret. I must have lost my mind to spare this insane freak back then. Regret always came after. Ha ha ha. Bailey Jingwei cackled, stepping forward as he turned smug. Steward Zhuo, you lose. The Patriarch hasn't been seen for the last century, but he's still alive. As long as he is present, the Empire will stand forever. You'll be the one to do the dying today, along with all those traitors going down with you. Your 100-year plan is wasted. Roar. The soldiers roared in approval and excitement. The Empire's strongest symbol was their god, the invincible sword. The Sword Kings could fall, but never him. Bali Yuyu turned a worried look to Zhuo Fan, her fists clenched. She didn't know how he got away from Patriarch last time, but now his 7 experts were on the ground. How was he going to cope with the old man? Ignoring the crowd's confusion, worry and joy, Zhuo Fan made a move. He took his time walking towards the invincible sword. Prime Minister Bailey, I thought I told you, my plan was laid out to control the speed of your actions. And why, you'd ask? Haha, so I could get ready and enter the final battle. Zhuo Fan showed a smirk, his hand flashing black as a dark blade came out, covered in 4 colors at the edge before shooting for Bailey Yutian. Keep them safe. Right? Danqing Shen's group gave their all in keeping the convicts alive. Ding. For the first time, Bailey Yutian took out his thundering divine sword as he turned into a purple glow charging at Zhuo Fan. Black and purple intersected, with the 2 swords soon clashing in a violent display. Boom. The shock wave shuddered the earth and rippled the sky, followed by a fierce gale and dust storm. Bailey Jingwei and the Emperor ducked at once, sticking their heads to the ground, and letting the deadly winds pass over their backs, but they still felt pain. As for the soldiers, they exploded in a shower of blood and gore, adding a dark red tint to the already bloody spectacle. More than 100,000 lost their lives just then, reduced to gunk on the ground, never knowing what hit them. The shock wave went for 1,000 miles, laying the imperial capital to ruin. Bailey Jingwei finally looked up after it passed, only to see rubble and dust replacing the lavish imperial capital. The other lucky survivors looked around shell-shocked. Mommy, what power was that? It leveled imperial capital. Everyone that lived were shaking in fear and alarm. Only Bailey Jingwei laughed. See that? This is the power of the patriarch. Zhuofan, you're nothing but a conniving ant before him. The terrified soldiers perked up at the prospects. This is the patriarch's divine might. One sword is enough to send all enemies to hell. We won. Bali Yuyu crawled to her feet, hearing Bali Yuyun's cackle, and shook. Her heart was a mess in frantic worry as she looked around. Where's the punk? He couldn't be dead. But with patriarch's power. Bali Yuyu grew restless. Prime Minister Bailey, you're getting ahead of yourself. Bailey Jingwei froze, peering through the settling dust at the scaffold and the safe convicts. Only the three protectors looked a bit pale and coughed blood. Zhuofan had them take the aftermath, but it also left them wounded. Dan Qingshen sighed, such is the invincible sword's power, able to give us heavy wounds without trying. Taking on that strike would have annihilated us for sure. The old man is a terrifying monster. Yeah. The other two agreed. Bailey Jingwei snickered, obviously, since none can withstand the patriarch's godly might. Did you think Zhuofan can take his strike? Ha, what a sick joke. Not just take it but win? Dan Qingshen wiped his mouth of blood, showing a wide smile. Prime Minister Bailey, didn't you find it strange how, having fallen in with the Empire for 100 years, we betrayed our homelands and struck at our own people, letting the whole world scorn us, yet turned our back on the Empire at the very end? Bailey Jingwei stared at him hard. Dan Qingshen grinned and shouted, because we saw hope in defeating the strongest. That is Zhuofan. The other two nodded, showing conviction. Bailey Jingwei grimaced, whipping his head to turn to the fight. A wind blew the dust away and revealed two men with divine swords grinding on each other. Bailey Yuqian held the sundering sword in his aged, but strong hands, looking excited. Zhuofan, in white, grinned as he met him with the black demonic sword, shining eerily. The black and white complemented each other to bring about new, deep contrasts. The swords screeched as they grounded, sending off sparks. The two were matched. Impossible. He blocked the patriarch's strike? Bailey Jingwei cried out, looking out of it, shaking his head to break away from reality. No, no one can take the patriarch's strike, no one. Everyone was just as shocked, even the sword kings and the soldiers. Only Dan Qingshen group grinned. We knew the brat will be the end of the invincible sword. I felt it the moment we fought. The empire will fall at his hands. Zhuofan, finish him and be the peak of the world. Zhuofan's ears twitched at the shout, but his mouth widened. That's a given. SSS. The Qilin arm flared scarlet as Zhuofan worked his magic and the swords began to shift. The black sword used overwhelming power to push the purple one back. The invincible sword gripped the sundering sword as he staggered back one step at a time, the veins on his hands throbbing with strain, yet still unable to match the pressure. He grit his teeth, landing his sharp eyes on Zhuofan, filled with battle lust. 10,000 years, that's how long I waited for a worthy opponent. This fight, this peak battle is where I belong. Ha ha ha. Bailey Yuqian laughed with joy. Zhuofan? Chapter 1166. Sword Energy Stormed. Chapter 1166. Sword Energy Storm. Proofreader, Papatonks. Bam. Bailey Yuqian roared as he pushed, giving it his all. Zhuofan's right arm shone redder, swinging the blade and making both of them fall back. Zhuofan went back 20 steps while Bailey Yuqian slided just as many. The two then snapped into action, meeting in the middle again. The audience was dumbstruck, with Bailey Jingwei the most affected. No way, there's no way he can stand up to the patriarch. How did he gain such power? Look. Bailey Jingshi patted his shoulder, pointing at the sky. Bailey Jingwei shook, his mouth agape. The others noticed it too and were now looking blankly. Bali Yuyu and Dan Qingshen were looking at the baffling scene like it was the stuff of dreams. It made not an ounce of sense. The sky was split cleanly in two. One bird approached the dividing line and as it flew under it, its head got looped off. A human did that, a human had cut the sky in two. This can't be happening. Looking closer at the dividing line, it was right where the two had separated. The two had given their all, and while neither budged, the sword energy shot into the sky and cut it instead. The audience found the two even more monstrous. Just how far are they on the path of the sword to cut the heavens? Gulping hard, they only held fear for them. This isn't humanly possible. Bailey Yuqian ignored the weird looks, grinning. Ha! it's great that you survived and came to meet me. Let's settle our promise from 100 years ago. The winner goes to Devil Mountain, reaching new heights, while the loser will become a stepping stone, stuck in this place. Whoosh. Waving the demonic sword, Zhuofan turned cold. That's why I'm here, to return there as the best in mortal domain and challenge higher beings. Bailey Yuqian did the same with no qualms, shouting, good, but I'll be the one reaching it while you will make me grow in this fight. I'll be the winner. Bailey Yuqian laughed, filled with thirst for battle. Zhuofan smiled, his aura flaring. The Empire's Sword Kings were startled, recalling Murong Lai's words. Patriarch isn't here for Sword Star Empire, but to answer the challenge. Zhuofan worked hard to ruin the Empire and unite the lands, but seeing the Patriarch, even he put aside the Empire's fate, fighting just for the sake of it. Is this the world of the strong, unsullied by the mundane? They saw it now through a different light. That's why Murong Lai said we're unlike the Patriarch. This proves it. Oh. A wind passed, drifting a ruined leaf and letting it float down between the two, giving start to their second clash. Only this time the two turned into specters, fading in and out as they struck. The air was thick with energy, like something was wrapping around them. One with the world, the kid reached this state as well. Bailey Yuyun cried out. When the invincible sword cut down the 9th level spiritual beast, he showed the same effect. He thought only the Patriarch could reach it, but now, 100 years later, Zhuofan had caught up. The kid is a monster not even the Patriarch can compare with. Bang. The divine swords met, the only moment when their figures were remotely visible. They then clashed left and right and all over the place, the constant ringing of metal deafening to the audience as the air looked to be torn asunder. The dumbstruck onlookers were left agape. This level of skill went beyond anyone's comprehension, even a Sword King's. They couldn't even see the moves. They finally understood the difference between a Sword King and the invincible sword. It wasn't just power but also understanding. Yet Zhuofan had enough of both to meet the invincible sword at every turn. Bang! As they clashed, the rest of the people there couldn't even catch a shadow, only hearing the resulting explosions and seeing the fracturing air. Worry crept in as sweat poured down. It didn't look like an all-out clash like the first one, but it was still terrifying at their level. None had any idea where the two would meet next, the unknown danger looming over their heads like death. Even Sword Kings were powerless, flinching at the clashes. Danqing Shin's group wiped their brow at the tearing sound, knowing it to be reality breaking around them. The two powerhouses walked the furthest on their paths to reach the Tao, making anyone weaker unable to feel what they were doing. Whoosh. The two popped into sight just then, their eyes met and laughed at the cracked air. Good, I did not think a kid like you would have such deep insights into the Tao. We're both treading this path, our senses beyond human comprehension. There's no winning in this aspect, so let's just stop. Bailey Yuqian shouted as he waved and the rest sighed with relief. Too soon though, let's test sword insights now. We shall see if my understanding of the sundering sword art and yours of the sword can match. Bailey Yuqian shook and the sky crackled with purple lightning booming everywhere. Bailey Yuqian pointed the sundering sword at the sky and the lightning flocked, releasing dreadful power that swallowed the world around them as devastating sword waves flew in every direction, a sword energy storm. Humph, my sundering sword art is one of destruction. Anything will crumble beneath it to ashes. Nothing in creation can stop my sword. Oh, since you trained in destruction, I trained in devouring. Smirking, Zhuofan shook and blackness oozed out of the world's crevices. It blended with the cracks in the sky, swallowing everything into a complete abyss. The heavens now looked ghastly. One side purple and another pitch black, monstrous. As the growls began, the people shook with fear, their imagination going wild thinking of the savage creatures that might pounce on them from the darkness. Looking at it another way, the two's mastery of world energy was at a tie, with each slicing half of the heavens for themselves. This never happened in the history of the Five Lands, that of someone able to take control of any piece of the sky from the invincible sword. The audience paled, with the Sword Kings' faces twitching. Using swordsmanship as a contest means drawing on the world's energy to turn the world into a battlefield. Anything in that domain will be destroyed. To make it worse, it's between the invincible sword and Zhuofan of all people. The invincible sword's sundering sword is one of utter destruction, erasing anything it touched. Zhuofan's power is still unknown. The moment they started going at each other, not even a Sword King was confident he or she could outlive that. The people's hearts sank, sighing in misery. Sirs, it'd be better off if you just kept to the previous style. Sure, we couldn't see you, but at least we had the highest chance of us surviving it. While we can now see what you're doing now, but what's the point when the scope is so large that it includes us as well? Where are we supposed to hide? The audience wallowed in despair at their fate. Rumble. The two fighters went off once more, with purple sword waves slamming down and leaving nothing behind but dust. The unlucky soldiers died before even screaming. Bailey Yuqian showed no remorse even as his own countrymen, loyal soldiers, died from his errant strikes. He just hacked with the sundering sword, unleashing even more sword waves at Zhuofan's black sky. Zhuofan, take this. Star-severing sword, hero's demise. Chapter 1167, Soaring Power. Chapter 1167, Soaring Power. Proofreader, Papatonks. Whoosh. Piercing buzzing came from all directions, followed by thunderous boom of lightning as countless thunder blades shot for Zhuofan's black domain and tore it apart. Zhuofan's darkness lost half its ground in the sky from the onslaught, while the Empire's soldiers suffered heavy casualties as well, dying by the dozens. Bailey Jingwei didn't care, the only thing mattering to him was the Patriarch taking the lead. Genesis stage focused on control of world power. Zhuofan's control was now slipping, and that meant he was at a disadvantage. The Patriarch is gaining the upper hand. Danqing Shen's group frowned with worry. In a Genesis stage battle, losing the sky is like being disarmed. Zhuofan didn't look affected. Hovering with pride among the darkness with a sinister grin. The demonic sword in his hand oozing darkness had its strip of blue shining a deep and cold glow. Whoosh. Making a radiant arc through the sky, the heavens shook as an unnatural power came from the darkness. The thunder blades still assaulted it, only this time they stalled before sinking like rocks. The relentless attacks slowed down to a trickle and then to a halt, letting the darkness swallow them. What's going on? Bailey Jingwei watched as the lightning sky was invaded by the darkness and didn't understand. The Patriarch's strike was like a meteor shower, leaving his opponent worse for wear. None could defend even against a tenth of the strikes. Why then did the blade stop? Many others were just as puzzled. Only the wounded Ouyang Lingtian propped himself and looked with a chuckle. Zhuofan is a true genius. My understanding of the heaven-sealing sword over the last 1,000 years pales compared to his short century of studying. Heaven-sealing sword. Bailey Yuqian squinted at Zhuofan, finding it true, then mocked. Great, I wanted to learn each of the 5 divine sword arts, but I've never seen anyone in the world mastering the other 4 and fight me with it. Now you used the heaven-sealing sword art, blocking my star-severing swords. You opened my eyes. A shame you lost more than half of your control and have fallen in disadvantage in terms of world energy. Would you be able to seal my next attack? Ha ha ha. The invincible sword hacked with his divine sword, sending a deadly aura of power. At the same time, the thunder in the sky focused on the sundering sword, shining as bright as the sun. The invincible sword roared and struck. Zhuofan, this strike can cleave heaven. Will you be able to seal such an indomitable slash? Whoosh. Following the crack of lightning, a purple sword wave flew at Zhuofan. Except for some darkness and the stopped thunder blades, everything broke apart to nothing. The disintegrating power marched at Zhuofan, wanting to erase him from this world. Heaven-sealing sword art only knows to seal. The stronger the skill, the easier it is to overwhelm it. Bailey Yuqian has now used a strike to sever the heavens, using absolute power to break the seal. It'll need a power many times stronger for the gentle heaven-sealing sword art to seal something like that. Danqing Shen gasped, and Zhuofan is nowhere above the old man's. With the sky mostly lost as well, he's at a disadvantage. He has no way of retaliating against the old monster's sundering sword art. Bailey Jingwei snickered at the words. Now the punk will die. Zhuofan showed no fear against the incoming deadly blow, swinging the demonic sword in the air, the blue line on it shining softly. Whoosh. The dark sky moved, focusing on the sword, surging with power. The thick black energy brought thousands of sealed thunder blades onto the demonic sword, bolstering its power. Danqing Shen's eyes shook in amazement. I totally forgot. He doesn't just use heaven-sealing sword art but vaulting sword art as well. He might have little world energy he could use, but the old monster's sword he sealed is now at his disposal. Vaulting sword art harmonizes yin and yang, a mixed art. Using others' power, Zhuofan can match the old monster. But vaulting sword art is also a gentle skill and might not be enough to defeat the brutal sundering sword art. Soaring into the heavens with the sword. Shengguan Feixiong propped his body and looked up while smiling. Brother Ouyang, did you ever think the 4 strongest swords arts would come together in one man? I for one didn't even after meeting the little freak. For a man of such perception to be in the world that could comprehend 4 of the strongest sword arts. Especially soaring sword art, looking as if it was made for him. Never in my wildest dreams would I ever conceive that the soaring sword art could unleash such power in the hands of a man. Ouyang Ling Tian nodded, looking in Shengguan Feixiong's blazing gaze, and chuckled with hope as he returned his attention to the fight. The soaring sword art was made for the kid. There might not be another man that can use it to such an extent. Rumble. The invincible sword's purple sword wave destroyed all in its path, unstoppable. Zhuo Fan gave it a cold look, grinning, and then his qilin shone scarlet. What was even more strange was how the demonic sword's red line was also glowing, matching Zhuo Fan's right arm. Soaring sword breaking heaven. The purple sword wave was upon him, burning most of his black domain, but Zhuo Fan never lost his cool. His grip tightened and he slashed the sword, glowing a blinding red. Whoosh! A red wave shot, clashing with the purple one. Boom. Seconds after the deadlock, the purple lightning sword wave crumbled. Dong. Everyone else was gobsmacked. The Patriarch's strongest strike got defeated just like that? Oh. The invincible sword was also shaken up, confident his sundering sword art had reached its peak, that the other's soaring sword art would never. Before he could make sense of everything, the red wave passed through the thunder clouds and took all his vision. It startled him that Zhuo Fan's sword didn't just break his, but struck back as well. No, this can't be. He can't break my blow and attack as well? Bailey Yuqian was unable to take it in, but reality came crashing regardless. The deadly wave made Bailey Yuqian gnash his teeth and slash. Defending comes first. Bam. But even defending went beyond his predictions. The red wave pushed back the sundering sword even while he used all he had. It, along with the sword, pressed into his chest armor and kept pushing him back. Beyond shocked, he squeezed everything from his body into his arms and made the red wave slip beside the sundering sword and into the sky. Boom. The thunderstorm above sported an extra-large hole, with purple lightning flickering at the edges, unable to mend it. It was like it had some kind of power that broke Bailey Yuqian's connection with the world. Everyone was rooted in shock, even Bailey Yuqian. Glancing at the far Zhuo Fan and the red glowing arm coupled with the demonic sword, and for the first time, the best in the lands felt fear towards a human. His grip on his sword tightened in reflex. Chapter 1168, Defeat. Chapter 1168, Defeat. Proofreader, Papatonks. This can't be real. Bailey Jingwei's face twitched as he staggered. The Patriarch got pushed back. No way. The rest were overwhelmed as well. The invincible sword showed signs of losing. This had never happened before, ever. Emperor Bailey Jingshi felt drained, slumping to the ground in shock. If the Patriarch falls, the empire that lasted thousands of years will come crashing down. Dan Qingxin believed Zhuo Fan could do it, but to see it actualized was another thing. His power was beyond anything they knew, and the old monster only got out alive thanks to the sundering sword taking the brunt. The little monster's understanding of the soaring sword art was simply insane. The Shengguan clan had held onto the same sword for centuries, yet none could display what he could in 100 years. Shengguan Feiyun felt his throat dry. The soaring sword art can do that? Why didn't I realize? Only young Sanzi stood straighter, looking at Zhuo Fan's right hand and wiping his mouth of blood. Zhuo Fan's understanding of the soaring sword art came from his observations and insights into the soaring Qilin's power. With Zhuo Fan using a Qilin arm to unleash the soaring sword art, the power multiplied. It went as far as beyond what the old monster could take even with his peak sundering sword art. Everyone looked tense at the fight. The invincible sword turned grave for once, facing his strongest adversary yet with a cold glint in his eyes. Crack. The snapping sounds reached his ears and Bailey Yuqian's heart shook. He saw the armor on his chest sporting cracks from the soaring sword strike. Providence. Bailey Yuqian sighed. I hope to finish this challenge with my past self from 100 years ago and reach the top with dignity. But he is too powerful. I have to give everything for any chance at seeing the new world. Bailey Yuqian smirked, looking at Zhuo Fan with fire in his eyes. Zhuo Fan, come, let's finish this peak showdown. Gladly. Flicking the demonic sword, Zhuo Fan shouted back. They both shone red once more, using his power to slash and unleash another deadly soaring sword wave at Bailey Yuqian. The invincible sword would no longer defend, but dodge instead, using the sundering sword as cover. Soaring sword wave flitted past, grazing the sundering sword, yet the great power was enough to push on the cracked chest plate and spread the damage. The soaring sword art is truly frightening, holding so much power just within its aura alone. But it's almost time. The invincible sword turned to Zhuo Fan again after dodging, only to find him coming straight for his life right behind the sword wave. Haha, the soaring sword art is the strongest, but it is hardly enough to take you down. I'll have to do it up close and personal. Bam. Zhuo Fan flared scarlet and hacked. The invincible sword rushed to block with his sword, resulting in a loud clang as the swords collided. But under Zhuo Fan's power, the invincible sword faltered, with the demonic sword pressing on the sundering sword and into his chest. Crack. The invincible sword's armor got more cracks, faster and faster, covered all over in black veins and ready to crumble. The invincible sword gnashed his teeth and stared at the youth just a foot from him without fear. His red face strained as he pushed, roaring and shoving Zhuo Fan back. Kid, you dare come close to me with such gall? Absurd. Thunderstorm. The invincible sword shouted and waved the sundering sword, making the sky rain down thousands of thunder swords at Zhuo Fan from all directions. Zhuo Fan was in enemy territory with the world's energy here in the other's control. He could no longer use the heaven-sealing sword art to seal the strikes. In a Genesis stage fight, each had their own domain and charging into another's territory was the same as throwing away his advantage, the world energy he controlled. It was beyond dangerous. None would do it without utmost certainty of victory. Zhuo Fan took such incomprehensible risk to fight Bailey Yuqian up close, only to find out the strike did not end his opponent, suffering retaliation instead. Zhuo Fan was the one in dire straits now. Bailey Jingwei's side cheered with renewed hope. Zhuo Fan was ever calm, the demonic sword's golden line shining bright and unleashing a scorching heat. Decimating sword art, decimating heaven. Whoosh. He waved at the sky, sending searing waves in all directions. In moments, golden flames formed in the sky as thick firewalls put a barrier between him and the sky. The purple lightning waves landed on the flame walls, hissing to nothing. The decimating sword art was similar to the sundering sword art, both preferring raw power, but the difference was with the decimating sword art being partial to some flexibility. Hard but not brutal. By using this trait, gentleness overcame strength and burned the incoming waves of attacks to nothing. Bailey Yuqian's wide sword wave attack used with word power was stopped for moments, ample time. Whoosh. With the invincible sword isolated from the sky, Zhuo Fan had removed both of their ties to the world power and now flashed in Bailey Yuqian's face once more, his arm flaring scarlet and using soaring sword art to slash at his opponent's head. A scarlet glow came out of the blade's edge, forcing Bailey Yuqian to gnash his teeth and block with his sword for the second time. Now though, with such a close distance, the sword wave proved even more powerful. Bailey Yuqian had no way of deflecting it, letting the divine sword push into his chest and closer to his heart. No amount of strength helped. The invincible sword's cracked armor crumbled to pieces and the soaring sword's power entered his heart, making him cough 3 crimson mouthfuls of blood. He shot back like a meteor, slamming hard into the ground, forcing up a cloud of dust and entrails as his force pulverized hundreds of thousands of the Empire's soldiers. Bailey Jingwei's group was quick, ducking out of the shockwave with Dan Qingxin's group doing their best to protect the convicts. Once dust settled, Zhuo Fan hovered above, but the purple-tinged sky was no more. It was a testament to the invincible sword losing control, or better yet, the man himself was. Bailey Jingwei's eyes shook, looking at the dozens of miles big crater with dead eyes. How could the patriarch just lose? Bailey Yuqian is dead, we won. Seeing no thunder in the sky, Zither Sword King took a deep breath and roared in excitement. Zhuo Fan's soaring sword art was too damn strong. Not even the invincible sword could take it on, for if he had even a bit of strength left, the purple lightning in the sky would have stayed. Devil Palace and the 4 lands convicts cheered as well. To think that the great invincible sword had got to see this day. Only the Bali Sword Kings and the Empire's soldiers slumped on the ground in disbelief. The Patriarch couldn't have lost. Regardless of their wants and needs, the purple was gone and the Empire had fallen. The invincible nation knocked down from its pedestal on high along with its invincible god. While some rejoiced, others mourned. Along with the frantic glee there were equally opposite sorrow and lament. Zhuo Fan kept staring at the crater even now. The sword was strong but only enough to damage the old man, not kill him. SSS. Thunder crackled then as purple lightning spread across the sky once more. An even greater power pressed down, taking the breath away from all onlookers. An aged voice came from the crater. I never thought it'd come to this. But now Zhuofan. Chapter 1169, Spirit King. Chapter 1169, Spirit King. Proofreader, Papatonks. All shuddered at the fear they felt from the familiar voice. They turned their stiff heads at the crater, with some showing despair while others exhilaration. The Empire lives on. Rumble. Purple lightning re-emerged, with the entire sky turning purple, without a single trace of darkness. Even the air itself became electrified as purple lightning snaked everywhere. Zhuofan was surrounded by purple glows in seconds, coming from everywhere. What's going on here? Dan Qingshen's heart jumped in his throat, looking at the flickering lightning just a foot from his soaked head. This isn't world power, so why is the entire world coming under the old monster's control? Pah! A purple lightning strike flared next to him and flung him 24 meters away. His face red as he coughed blood. The rest found the hard way how the lightning could strike at any time, and fear gripped their hearts. What the hell is going on? We clearly aren't in the old monster's domain, but why would it appear around us? A Genesis stage expert should not be able to exert control to this extent. It feels like the world is at his whims and we're its prisoners to kill at the slightest discontent. This is terrifying. Zither Sword King and Ling Yuntian glanced at the purple lightning around with sweat all over. Bailey Jingwei laughed and cupped his hands. Patriarch is unstoppable. With the Patriarch around, the Empire shall never fall, ha ha ha. The Patriarch is unstoppable. The Patriarch is unstoppable. The soldiers shouted like fanatics, throwing fists in the air. The rest were looking bleak, like they entered hell. They knew Bailey Yuqian was strong, but now strength did not cut it as apt description of that monster. It went beyond the realm of human comprehension. As the lightning danced around them, ready to send them to an early grave at any given moment, their previous joy at victory became a crushing despair. They were mice trapped in the old man's cage for him to toy with as he wished. He had stopped being a man, turning into a living god. Who could possibly take on a god? They turned to Zhuofan in the sky, holding a shred of forlorn hope. Only a demon could fight a god, its antithesis. Only Zhuofan, a demon, has the strength to do it. Hope flickered in the depths of their gazes as they turned to the man in the sky. With a crumbling sound and the lightning flaring, Invincible Sword's tough body floated out of the crater. Lightning covered him like a thunder god. His armor was gone, there was blood on his mouth, but his eyes were sharp and his aura explosive. Bailey Jingwei's side laughed. The Patriarch is unstoppable. Zhuofan, these mortals are clueless, but not you. Ignoring the fanatic joy below, Bailey Yuqian stared at Zhuofan with a grin. Zhuofan nodded. Above Genesis is the Spirit King stage, wielding the power of the air around us. A Genesis stage expert only controls the power above to give him a boost in battle. A Spirit King is like a border official, able to control the entire space. Every corner is suffused with your power, for you to do anything you want with it. That's a Spirit King. Yes, I knew you're not like these mortals and know far more than we do. Bailey Yuqian laughed. Zhuofan, the day you told me there's something above Genesis stage, I was skeptical. Even as I saw you fight the sea demon, doubt remained. Only when I advanced and felt all the power you spoke, I realized you never lied to me. Mortality through spirituality, imperial, saintly and sovereignty, it's all real. Devil Mountain is real. That's why I can't wait to see everything for myself. Mere days after I broke through, I felt my body light, like there's something pulling at me to leave. What's keeping you then? Ling Yuntian and the rest sighed, quipping in their minds. Zhuofan paused and thought. Going above Genesis, you can no longer stay in the mortal domain. That's why there's no one above mortal stages in the mortal domain, they all left. But left where, exactly? Why haven't I heard of any of them before? Zhuofan pondered and Bailey Yuqian grinned. As it stands, I should just let go and see the new world. But I remembered our promised fight. I didn't know of your fate, but I still waited. Also, Jingwei told me the Empire is about to change. I had a refiner make me an 11th grade spiritual armor to restrain my cultivation before I'd be forced to leave. But to think Providence brought you to me. I could fight to my heart's content and finish it once and for all with you, ha. Why didn't you go all out just now? Zhuofan taunted. Did you think Genesis stage was enough to deal with me, perhaps? Bailey Yuqian nodded. Fan, you know about the Spirit King stage and thus must know about its power. Fighting as I am would be like taking it out on you while taking out all the fun from the fight. But I never imagined you'd go beyond this level after 100 years. That sword would have crippled the past me. A shame the 11th grade spiritual armor broke and my power is let loose. In 2 hours I'll be forced to leave. Bailey Yuqian glanced at the wide sky. Outside of the ever-present lightning, there was a shimmering light growing as it fell, like a tunnel for him to ascend and leave this world behind. I wanted to have a blast fighting you some more. What a shame I'm running out of time and you out of power. As a fellow warrior, I shall send you off myself out of respect. Bailey Yuqian eased a breath and raised a hand. The air grew heavy and the lightning around Fan focused on him. I'll be honored to fulfill your final wish. Boom. Fan slashed his demonic sword, sending golden flames around to obliterate the lightning. You're too kind, invincible sword, but that should be my line. I'll be sure to take your head before the call pulls you away. Allow me to fulfill any of your last wishes. Haha, Fan, you're really something. Do you really think you have a chance? Bailey Yuqian mocked. Your sword is strong, but can no longer hurt me, for everything around us is under my control. There's no hope for you. That's why I didn't want to fight you as a Spirit King stage cultivator. It's boring. Whoosh. A scarlet sword wave flew at Bailey Yuqian's neck in reply, unleashed by Fan with all his power. The invincible sword wasn't as hard-pressed, merely extending 2 fingers to cross them. Under the frightened eyes of many, the air warped and Fan's attack got deviated by a meter from Bailey Yuqian, letting it explode somewhere behind. Bailey Yuqian stood there with a tranquil expression. This is my world and you can no longer touch me. Dan Shen's side lamented, hanging their heads and feeling disgruntled. What? Why is it that a man appeared that can take the invincible sword down, but the monster had to advance as well? Now everyone will die, all plans wasted. All their efforts had been in vain. The invincible sword really is invincible. Bailey Jingwei's side had a victorious smile and stuck out their chests. None noticed that Fan wore a sinister smile as well. He sometimes touched his covered eyes with a calm expression. I should go all out as well, ha. Chapter 1170, Unsealed. Chapter 1170, Unsealed. Proofreader, Papatonks. Thunder Cage. Bailey Yuqian raised his hand in Fan's direction and grabbed at air. A shame I'll be the one going to Devil Mountain. Fan, farewell forever. Rumble. Thunder rumbled, like the space was cracking as the lightning around Fan boxed him in like a claw from all directions. Purple lightning was prevalent everywhere he looked, blocking any means of escape. Fan was fated to be blasted into thousands of pieces. Watching their only hope about to shatter, the rest sighed. Luo Yunchang teared up as she cried, Fan. Master. Big Brother Zhua. Steward Zhua. All of the Luo clan was worried, yet powerless to do anything more than shout. Qiaoer and Gu Santong were his children, and the only ones calm. They just watched like it was all just a show. Ouyang Lingtian gave them an odd look. Aren't you the least bit worried your father's about to die? Why should we be? You call that dying when Dad didn't even go all out? Gu Santong scoffed. Wait until Dad's out of tricks and can't do anything. That's where the real danger is. Until then this is nothing, hee hee. Ouyang Lingtian gave him a long and dull look. Your dad didn't go all out yet? He used all of the 4 sword arts and even that wasn't enough to deal with Bailey Yuqian, now a stage above him, a Spirit King. How can he still have a way of pulling off a win in this desperate situation? Ice King, you just don't know our dad. Qiaoer teased. Dad only focused on the sword for the last 100 years, but it's not like he didn't beat others before that. You know most of Dad's power is in his eyes. Anything short of that means going easy. Eyes? Ouyang Lingtian's side blinked, turning to the white figure in the sky and found him to be unfazed from all the deadly lightning crackling around. He gave a casual pull at the eye cover and showed eyes encased in ice, along with a strange mark on his forehead. I understand the heaven sealing sword art fully and know how to use sealing. The eyes shouldn't lash out again, haha. Fan made a sign and brought 2 fingers to his forehead. The mark on Fan's forehead glowed an intense blue as it faded slowly from his skin. As its power disappeared, the frost on his eyes melted. Fan became excited, eagerly anticipating the result. Rumble. The lightning was right next to him now. Bailey Yuqian flicked his hand and the area crackled hard. Fan was surrounded by a flood of lightning, the purple color so blinding and the power terrifying. As it spread, everything in its path died. Zhuofan. Luo Yunchang wailed with the rest sighing. Bali Yuyu hung her head forlorn. I should have stopped you from meeting the patriarch, but now. Ouyang Lingtian made a weird face, turning to Gu Santong. Where's your dad? Dead? The two still looked undisturbed, puzzling the other Dharma kings. Bailey Yuqian sighed at the white glow becoming stronger and bigger. A poor ending, but at least I got my pass for Devil Mountain. Now I can go without qualms, haha. Aren't you afraid I'll be laying waste to your empire if you go? A wild laughter came. Bailey Yuqian's heart jumped, turning to where the lightning was most focused. Rumble. A crackle far louder and terrible than the purple lightnings covered the sky as black thunder flames exploded into existence. The purple lightning put up no resistance in its path, revealing a most familiar figure, unaffected by the encroaching black flames. But now his eyes were opened. The right eye glowed golden with 4 rings while the left eye glowed faintly blue with sparks around the sucking abyss of flames. Bailey Yuqian gasped, Why are you not dead? I told you I should be the one to fulfill your will. How could I die before that? Zhuofan smirked. Bailey Yuqian stared at him hard, then chuckled, Humph, it won't change anything regardless. You are in the Genesis stage and can't do anything to me. I'm truly invincible now. I don't know how you lived through that, but you can't harm me. You can survive every time you want, but you'll never win. Zhuofan gave a deep smile in reply. True, against a spirit king, the Genesis stage is worlds below. Bailey Jingwei snickered, filled with disdain. You got out alive, but the patriarch's the ultimate existence of this world, what could you possibly do? Humph. Bailey Yuqian's eyes shone and sent a palm attack, a sword king's lashing. Let's see you deal with this. Whoosh. The whole sky crackled and was littered with purple sword waves as they rained down on Zhuofan. Unlike the last time, not only the range was way bigger, but the power had multiplied as well, as did their numbers. The thick hail of energy blades came down on Zhuofan, to skewer him and bury him. Invincible Sword watched for anything he might pull this time. It was quite baffling how Zhuofan just stood there, not budging an inch. Whoosh. Zhuofan flickered out of sight, the wide attack hitting nothing. Where'd he go? Bailey Yuqian started. Whoosh. A fierce gale blew out just then from his side. Bailey Yuqian flinched and slashed with sundering sword in reflex. Bam. With a scarlet glow and the familiar ruthless power coming into his heart, Bailey Yuqian's hands went soft as he got flung into the air. His blood was boiling as he stopped in the air, finding Zhuofan in his previous position, with his right eye shining in one golden halo. The space is under my control, how did you get next to me? That's impossible. Thunder Flame Void Annihilation. Zhuofan's reply was a quirky smile, his right eye shining in 2 golden rings while his left flashed with a black thunder flame. Whoosh. A broken beam of black flames shot from Zhuofan's eyes and at Bailey Yuqian. Thanks to Zhuofan's boost in power, his eyes grew stronger as well, to a terrifying degree. Even Bailey Yuqian, a fresh spirit king, was slow to react against the thunder flame-empowered void annihilation as it came for his life. Bailey Yuqian could only use the ability of a spirit king, extending his fingers to warp space in front of the attack and deflect it. It didn't help. Bam. The attack hadn't deviated even an inch, the black beam of flames shooting for the invincible sword still. As void annihilation was the bane of any spatial skills, no spatial attack could affect it. The move wouldn't be so named otherwise. The thunder flame was also capable of burning anything in existence. The invincible sword ended up a powerless spirit king before this kind of attack, forced back despite his overwhelming power. The divine eye of the void was a sovereign's ultimate skill as well. There was hardly any skill more qualified in the spatial field in the whole sacred domain. Chapter 1171, Unleashed Power. Chapter 1171, Unleashed Power. Proofreader, Papatonks. Bailey Yuqian's eyes twitched at the incoming beam of black flames, his heart shaking. It went beyond his comprehension how he was in a stage beyond any mortal's grasp, yet a punk like Zhuofan defeated him. So he stopped trying to make sense of it all, calming himself down and raised the sundering sword out of instinct. Bam. The invincible sword's hands trembled, and he got sent flying from the mighty attack, only coming to a stop a mile away. The black flames spread over the blade and onto his shaking hands as well. Staring hard at the snickering figure, Bailey Yuqian turned grave. He had just used his advantage as Spirit King, yet it still proved useless against such an attack. It showed the possibility of losing this fight against some Genesis stage brat that could break his stage advantage. The audience was speechless, with Bailey Jingwei's group dumbstruck. They couldn't wrap their heads around how their patriarch, the peak existence of this world that had just gone a step higher, was pushed back. What the hell is Zhuofan? Darkness comes and Sword Star wanes. Someone from the Devil Palace began, and it turned into an endless flood as all disciples cheered, singing the song that had spread throughout the lands. More and more sang, stronger and stronger, the fervor igniting their spirits. He was the Dark Demon Lord, their Devil Palace Lord, and he was going to crush the undefeated nation. The fanatic shouting raged in the others' ears. Bailey Jingwei heard it too, his face bleak as he gnashed his teeth. The soldiers hesitated, not knowing what to do. It can't be true. The Patriarch losing, the Empire falling? As doubt spread through the battlefield, a barrier was placed around Bailey Jingshi, Bailey Jingwei, and their Sword Kings. The invincible sword looked at his divine sword wrapped in black flames and felt fear. It soon turned into raging battle lust, flicking those flames off. He exploded with power, reaching every corner of the world and making it tremble. The deadly aura descended like the end of day was upon them. Divine Eye of the Void's fifth stage, Void Wall. Knowing what was happening, Zhuofan's right eye displayed 5 halos. The Dharma Kings and the Sword Kings on the scaffold were covered in 7 invisible barriers. Zhuofan raised his hand and traced along the demonic sword, making every inch he passed release black thunder flames, bolstering the demonic sword's power. Whoosh! He flicked it at the man in front with an evil smile, though his eyes were craving battle still, his power at its peak. What are they doing this time? All the soldiers felt the space tremble with each barrier set in place, then looked at Bailey Jingwei's group and at the scaffold with tears in their eyes. Dude, you're both setting up for some absurd move, I get it, and you protected your main guys. But what about us? We're just small fries, so we can just die, is that it? This is discrimination, I tell you, discrimination. The Dark Demon Lord not included us nobodies since we're enemies, but the Patriarch, you too? What's worse, you're the one who started this damn showdown? All were downcast and despairing at how easily they were cast aside. With no choice, they fled every which way. Run. Rumble. They only raised a leg when suddenly the sky, earth, air, everything, exploded with lightning. It disintegrated everything, the soldiers, the rocks, the remaining 10 million soldiers, all were gone just like that. The invincible sword shouted as he slashed at Zhuofan, the world becoming sword waves as they came at Zhuofan. Such a move was enough to do in a Sword King from the pressure and errant power alone. All the lucky survivors witnessed such godly power from the safety of their barrier. Is this the fully unleashed power of a Spirit King? It's dreadful. It's like fighting the world itself. He controls the air and everything in it. Who could ever hope to overcome all that power? That's why they set up barriers. It's the only reason we can witness such might without turning to ashes as well. Having front row seats at the untold destruction, everyone felt a chill down their backs. They gasped at their fortune of being important enough to not get kicked to the curb. Some looked worried at Zhuofan. How was he going to face off against the world that had now turned on him? It was beyond merely sending waves of soldiers like they did with the invincible sword back in the last war. But against such incredible danger, Zhuofan smiled. Even with the world under Bailey Yutian's control, he won't ever get to control my surroundings. Zhuofan huffed, his right eye displayed 4 golden rings and his left flickered with thunder and fire. Divine Eye of the Void's 4th stage, Thunderflame Space Crusher. Boom. The space around him hummed as black thunder flames darkened it, turning it into Zhuofan's dark world. He was no Spirit King, unable to control the air and space around him, but this small area answered to him and him alone. Crack. The violent purple thunder blades shot for Zhuofan, but all were erased upon entering the black domain. Bailey Yutian narrowed his eyes, finding the mass attack useless, so he switched tactics. He gathered his power and slashed hard, opting for a focused strike to break the enemy's defense. Whoosh! A purple wave once again streaked the sky, turning 300 meters big as it got charged with the lightning it crossed along its path, looking to destroy the unstoppable domain Zhuofan erected. Zhuofan's soaring sword art wasn't any weaker though. His right hand flared and slashed hard with the power of a Qilin. Whoosh! A black wave shot, inspiring dread and death as it met the invincible sword's attack. Rumble. The 2 waves exploded with noise and power. The pressure filled the world with purple lightning and black flames, sent everywhere like a meteor shower, destroying the already ruined place even more. Those behind the barrier watched this incredible showdown between mammoths. Glancing at the destruction around, they all felt their blood run cold. Curses, their clash only gets more unbelievable and world-ending. The shock had yet to subside, with Zhuofan wielding the demonic sword rushing at Bailey Yutian. His eyes maintained the Thunderflame Space Crusher, but instead of making it focus on himself, he made it turn into a mile-long black dragon. He stood on its head, charging with all his fury. With the space under Bailey Yutian's control, lightning struck him constantly from all over to no avail. Against the mighty black dragon, all the thunder blades fizzled out as he charged to take down the head. Bailey Yutian's heart shook, turning grave at Zhuofan's bravery. He now noticed that even with all his power, while he controlled the fate of everyone in his area, only Zhuofan was immune, a monster among monsters running amok. Bailey Yutian steeled his heart and relinquished control of space around, focusing all the power of the world. Chapter 1172, Reaching the Summit. Chapter 1172, Reaching the Summit. Proofreader, Papatonks. SSS. The power rose sharply as it was focused. Bailey Yutian pointed his sword, with all the purple lightning focused on its edge. In practically an instant, endless amounts of purple lightning focused on him, bringing about a frightening display of raw power. With a sharp cry, the amassed purple lightning turned into a 300-meter huge bird carrying Bailey Yutian and the divine sword. Thanks to all that unimaginable power crammed in there, the huge bird was blinding in its glow like the sun. Bam! Zhuofan and Bailey Yutian's blades once again met, only this clash did not resume at their own power as they had further amplified their strength through different means to new heights. Zhuofan's divine eye of the void and apocalyptic thunder flame tripled his power. While Bailey Yutian used everything at his disposal, his control of the world included, to focus the lightning into a bird, a tenfold increase. Zhuofan could handle a third of the invincible sword's strength with it being spread out. But now, with all that wild power concentrated, Zhuofan had no chance against it. Whoosh! Zhuofan got flung 2 miles along with his black dragon of thunder flame. The invincible sword shuddered and fell back half a mile. As they came to a halt, they charged again with their blades. The skies thrummed with their booming attacks as a black dragon and purple lightning bird kept colliding all over the place. In but moments, their blades screeched 100 times, shuddering the world around them. The audience that was still alive kept getting more shocked. The two of them had the literal power at their fingertips to kill millions of soldiers. They were weapons of mass destruction in and of themselves. No human should hold so much power. No wonder the world can't have both of them. The two spared no effort in securing victory. At last, the sounds of their clashes, strong enough to raise the dead, ceased with the smash of one of them into the ground, leaving a crater dozens of miles wide. Dan Qingxin's group panicked while Bailey Jingwei's group lit up. It was Zhuofan. Zhuofan rose from the deep rubble he was buried under and spat blood. He was gasping and weary. The purple lightning bird hovered above his head. The invincible sword sat on the bird's head, gazing at his strongest opponent of his life, weary as well, but his eyes were smiling. Zhuofan, you lost. No matter how strong your soaring sword art is, you're stuck at the Genesis stage, limited by Yuan Qi and unable to match a spirit king like me. Going all out against me so many times was your mistake. Humph, aren't you the same? Zhuofan huffed. Spirit King stage can control the power of space and air, but doesn't enjoy such a great increase of his own strength. Old man, focusing your control into a limited space only drew faster on your Yuan Qi reserves, faster than even me. Not to mention, how long can your aged body last taking on so much power? I bet you can hardly move. Bailey Yutian grinned, his body swaying with a popping sound coming from his bones, but his eyes were still focused on the fight. Why the hell would you care? I'm standing while you've fallen. The invincible sword glanced at the curtain of light coming from the heavens above, his mouth forming a smile. Once I'm through with you, I'll have no qualms going there, haha. Bailey Yutian laughed, heaving the now heavy divine sword. He was ready to end his strongest opponent. Everyone watched tense and riveted. Zhuofan showed a weird grin. It's too soon for you to go, haha. Thunderflame Dragon Nest. Zhuofan plunged the demonic sword down. A surge of black energy exploded like a tide, turning the earth black as night. Roars upon roars came from it as it roiled like the sea. Black dragons flew into the sky, powered by the thunder flame, all aiming for Bailey Yutian and his lightning bird, drowning him in blackness. Everything now took a much bleaker and darker hue. Zhuo Fan snickered, "Invincible sword, you shouldn't have focused all that control of the space on yourself. Just so you know, I have a domain soul, and by relinquishing control I can use it for myself. Now you're in my dragon nest. Let's see you come out now, ha ha ha." Roar. Thousands upon thousands of black dragons breathed fire on the lightning bird and chipped away at it, bit by bit. Bailey Yuqian held a cold smile. "What can a mere domain do to me?" Bailey Yuqian shook hard and the lightning bird cried out. Purple lightning flared and the dragon nest suffered an explosion as it collapsed. The bright sun once again blessed this wretched battlefield and his aged face. SSS. But the invincible sword had no time to react as a figure flashed in his face. What? The invincible sword was frozen, looking down to find that his lightning bird had a thin and long hole running through it, all the way to him and through him. The invincible sword looked with a stiff face at the black flames on his abdomen, while his legs were engulfed in it already, slowly eating at him. Invincible sword. A cold voice came to his ears. "I told you my sword arts are for devouring. The dragon nest wasn't so it could whittle you down, but to engulf your senses. With a spirit king able to control space, I had to be on high alert all the time. Not even my domain would have escaped your range. A shame you focused it all on you and lost your advantage. So I used this chance to blindside you with an attack." Bailey Yuqian's brow shook, looking back to find Zhuo Fan's calm face as he wielded the black sword flickering with flames. The invincible sword gripped his sword, looking at the light above, feeling unreconciled. But then he gnashed his teeth and threw the sundering sword, roaring, "Zhuo Fan, you win. You get to go to Devil Mountain. Take the sundering sword and reach the summit. Do not disgrace that sword." Bailey Yuqian sighed and closed his eyes, the flames burning him to ashes. Feeling the purple blade trembling in his grip, mourning for its master, Zhuo Fan sighed. The invincible sword, a worthy opponent. In the sacred domain in a little shack, a youth sat before a chessboard about to put a piece. His hand shook and the piece rolled among the others. "It's gone." He took a deep breath. The spirit king in the mortal domain is gone. What a pity. He was about to arrive at the world they always yearned for. The shadow at his side stood. The spirit king this time was off. He should have long since come but suppressed himself to stay for something. Might it not be the same again? No, this time he's gone for good, while last time his signature was merely weakened. Someone killed him before he could come. The mortal domain had two spirit kings. No, someone jumped stages to do it. The man gasped, "Jumped stages?" Any spirit king birthed in such a wasted place, like the mortal domain, is a priceless talent. Yet one was killed by someone jumping stages? This hasn't happened ever. That was because for so many years he never thought of returning. Now that he wants to, none could stop him, ha ha. Pa. A piece slammed on the board and the youth let out a mad laughter, chilling to the bone. Chapter 1173, I'm back. Chapter 1173, I'm back. Proofreader, Papatonks. P. Patriarch. Bailey Jingwei slumped to the ground, his feet giving in with a look of utter despair. The rest of the Sword Star Empire's people were numb, while the Emperor fainted. The heart of the Empire, their god, the Patriarch, the invincible sword, had died. This can't be happening. Everyone shook their heads in disbelief, coming out of the illusion they built around the man. The invincible sword's ashes scattered in the wind, while the divine sword, having been his lifelong partner for thousands of years, now rested in Zhuo Fan's hand. This reality could not be denied. Bailey Jingwei closed his eyes, tears trailing down his face. The Sword Kings kneeled and slammed to the ground. Only Shangguan Feiyun just stood there, frozen. Shit, I made the wrong bet. He believed that the invincible sword would help him in his goal, only to find this always undefeated man finally meet his match. Shangguan Feiyun's heart sank into hatred. While some wallowed in despair, others rejoiced at a new lease of life. Bailey Yuqian fell, marking the decline of the Baileys. As for the convicts, they were celebrating. The monster Bailey Yuqian is gone, ha. Zither Sword King watched the sky at the new dawn rising, welcoming it with a smile. Darkness swallows the stars, bringing about a new dawn. I never dreamed it would come true, ha. Lumubai was moved to tears. The weight of the past, the hatred of his clan, had been carried for years and years with no hope of being relieved of such burden. Now it was over, making all his toil as Sword King for 1,000 years all the more worth it. Everyone was engrossed in their own raw emotions, some of joy, some of sorrows. Zhuo Fan held the sundering sword and placed it in his ring. The demonic sword shook in request. Zhuo Fan smiled, I know, but later. You won't be sorry. Let's return first. Ding. The demonic sword rang as he slipped into Zhuo Fan's body. Zhuo Fan smiled and descended, taking away the barriers and releasing the convicts' bonds. In an hour they were all free. Palace Lord. Wu Randong was the first to bow, filled with endless gratitude and reverence. The other Devil Palace disciples followed suit, looking at Zhuo Fan like he was the shiniest jewel. But fear remained still of disturbing this great man, never daring to meet his gaze. Ignoring their excitement, Zhuo Fan spoke to Wu Randong, all obstacles are removed now. Finish the Imperial Capital project within the month. Yes, sir. Wu Randong bowed. Ling Yuntian brought the four lands captives with a bow. Thank you, Sir Zhuo, for your timely rescue. We'd have perished for sure. It's fine since I didn't come for you. It was meant for the Empire and I to fight. He stood in my way and I brushed him aside, nothing more, nothing less. It was nothing personal. Zhuo Fan shook his head. Ling Yuntian nodded. Yes, Sir Zhuo has always been walking alone, above the disputes of the lands. You never had anything against the Empire. It's only that our goals aligned, that we faced the same enemy. But, Sir Zhuo, you should have told us of your plans against the Empire and we would have worked together to make it easier. Why did you insist on having us suffer like this? You have the nerve to ask me that? You had Bailey Yuqian on the ropes 100 years ago, so why did you stop? Ling Yuntian was lost for words. Zhuo Fan said, Sect Leader Ling, it's not that I don't trust you. What I don't trust is human nature. Central Area had pushed you into a corner, making me your Grand Marshal. After the lands war, what use would my word have? The same applies now. If not for the Empire waging war with the lands, you'd have never even thought of listening to my orders. Bailey Jingwei spy aside, people only ever group up to repel outsiders, right? Ugh. Ling Yuntian gave a nervous chuckle, then he rushed to change topics. Sir Zhuo, speaking of the spies. Curse you, Bu Xingyun, I'll have your body scattered in the wind. Ling Yuntian rushed to the spies, shouting and cursing, looking smug like he had just earned a hard victory. Bu Xingyun's side panicked and fled, but Ling Yuntian's group caught them and started laying it on them hard and fast. Zhuo Fan sneered. Those geezers. Big Brother Zhuo. Master. Chapter 1174, To the Winner the Spoils. Chapter 1174, To the Winner the Spoils. Proofreader, Papatonks. Bam. A convict kicked a brawny man to the ground, mocking, haha, so this is what the mighty Sword King has come to, haha. Stop. We surrendered. What are you trying to do? Bali Yuyu glared at them, gnashing her teeth. The youth sneered, giving her a most unbecoming leer. What, you ask? Weren't the Sword Kings always acting so high and mighty? With the invincible sword dead, any kind of lashing out won't do you any good. Surrendering is your only hope at living, so play along or else. Or else what? A steel grip had twisted his wrist. The man whipped his head with a scowl, only to pale hard. Marshal Zhuo, we've got all the prisoners sorted out for you to handle. Bali Yuyu shook, observing the man she had been daydreaming about day and night for the past century, and her heart raced. Zhuo Fan sneered, you actually know they're my prisoners? Others who didn't might think it was you who got them. You must be so amazing taking down the Central Area Sword Kings. I'd never, Marshal Zhuo, you're our Grand Marshal of the Four Lands just as it was 100 years ago. We're doing it all for you. Humph, what a pretentious excuse. You never did anything for me 100 years ago, and now that I got the Central Area, you wanted to step in? Zhuo Fan flung the man into the air, vanishing in the distance. I'm fine without it. The rest acted oblivious, lowering their heads and clearing the area. Ignoring the profiteers, Zhuo Fan turned to Bali Yuyu, who never took her eyes off him. He snapped his fingers and her bounds came undone. I saw how you never got a wound on you when you fought Shower. How did those ants even catch you? I sealed my own cultivation. You did. Yes, you've won and we lost. Those bastards used Brother Lei to threaten me, so what could I do? Or did you expect me to be as fearless as the Patriarch and have you cut me down? Bali Yuyu glared. Zhuo Fan shook his head. My fight with him has been in the works for a century, an honorable duel bearing no grudge from either party. Along the way I took the Empire for my own purposes, still nothing personal. Now that the Empire is mine, I want nothing else. You're free to go. Free? Bali Yu started, you're letting us go free? What if we'll take revenge? Zhuo Fan chuckled, can you really with just that much strength? Don't make me laugh. Not now, but who's to say later? Neither later. Zhuo Fan cut her off, since I overcame all of you, I hold no fear for the future. If by some miracle you do succeed, that proves I've been idle and deserve to die. A real man isn't afraid of any challenge. Moreover, I'm a challenger myself. Challenging myself for my own goals is all the more reason I can't let others catch up to me. Or I wouldn't have needed him to step in and would have died at your hands instead. Bali Yu's eyes grew hazy, you're just like Patriarch, no stronger. Patriarch always yearned for the top, but feared being overtaken. You don't have such fear and that's why you won. You flatter me. What I fear is something you can never reach. Zhuo Fan waved, walking away, take them and go. We've had a nice run once and this is my thanks for it. Bali Yu gave him a long look, then pointed at the others to remove their binds. A sudden roar then shook the heavens as someone shot for Zhuo Fan. Zhuo Fan. What now? Whoosh. Zhuo Fan clutched the neck of the attacker, Bailey Jingtian. Revenge for the invincible sword, is that it? I told you that none of you have it in you. But since you challenged me, I'll answer with the same coin. Zhuo Fan gripped harder, cutting his breath. I'm a man of principles and can overlook the boiling hatred you all nurture, but the moment you try anything, you have to own up to your actions. Wait. Bailey Yulei shouted and rushed over, pleading, Sir Zhuo, please let the Crown Prince go. If you must kill him, take me instead. Zhuo Fan squinted, Bailey Yulei, we were on better terms 100 years ago. Though it was to help another and thus you helped me, I still consider it a favor. But what is your deal with the Crown Prince to go so far? It's about that time 100 years ago as well. He knows I had let you go yet never revealed it. Holding his word for 100 years, he earned my friendship. Didn't you stop to think that maybe he had his reasons? Zhuo Fan raised an eyebrow. Your Highness, you're no saint, I see, knowing to use gratitude to your own means. Bailey Jingtian said, as the Crown Prince, I've learned how to rule. Gratitude has nothing to do with it, just business. But yes, when you had your black flames on me, Thundersword King did save my life. He did right by cutting my arm off. I had the same thought but couldn't do it because that would mean everything would be over, my throne would no longer be mine. Have you ever heard of a cripple sitting on the throne in humanity's long history? So Thundersword King had solved my crisis in my life. But later, I helped them hide their connection with you, not really thinking over the implications. But without an arm, I was fated to be alone, so why then insist on making an enemy out of a Sword King? It's all to protect myself due to what happened, and I had to keep it to myself. See? He had it all figured out and didn't do it for you. I bet you looked after him these years so you should be square. Zhuo Fan snickered. Bailey Yulei's brow shook, yet his voice was firm. Regardless, I still feel friendship for him keeping it a secret for so long and ask that you stay your hand. Sure, since you felt friendship for him, I felt the same for you. But only this once. At least wait until you have the strength before coming at me. Zhuo Fan smirked and let go, walking off. A month later, I'll be leaving this world to where your patriarch yearned to go. Anyone is welcome to come since I lack manpower, ha. Bailey Jingtian squinted. What's his angle? Trying to get us on his side after killing the patriarch? As if. It's hard to tell. With her heart already made up, Bali Yu muttered. The patriarch and Zhuo Fan fought an honorable battle with their lives on the line. When the patriarch died, he held no hatred. Among cultivators, what grudges could there be among challengers? Your Highness, you'll never grow strong without at least this much aspiration. Look at yourself. After 100 years, you couldn't even defeat the likes of Yi Lin and Ouyang Chongqing, the same ones you once beat. A missing arm shouldn't have affected your strength as much. Think back at what you've been doing this past century. The only thing that came to Bailey Jingtian's mind was hate. He hated Zhuo Fan for taking his arm, losing his status, and everyone for mocking his deficiency. The hatred had taken over his mind to such extent he almost let the sundering sword art waste away. Bailey Jingtian sighed long and hard, closing his eyes. The first step to become stronger and defeat the man he hated all his life was to let go of the hate and set his eyes on the top. Bali Yu glanced over and showed a sneaky smile. Let us all go then to the world of the strong that the patriarch wanted to see. At the very least, we'll ease his spirit, right? Ha ha ha. You just want to be at the kid's side. Bailey Yulei snapped his eyes on her, shaking his head. In another part, following the ruckus, Bailey Jingshi and Bailey Jingwei were shoved and sworn at. Bu Xingyun and the other spies were beaten black and blue. Luo Yunhai's brow shook. They are still the prime minister and emperor. Even as captives, why must they be scorned so? The winner gets the spoils and they lost. Zhuo Fan walked by. But aren't I supposed to be the winner here? These people from the Four Lands were mere captives and now they think of themselves as the bosses? Luo Yunhai pleaded, Big brother Zhuo, Bailey Jingwei is vile but never trounced our dignity. I hope you will let us handle him. Yeah, I always pay back with the same coin. I may kill him but never shame him. Zhuo Fan nodded, you're the clan head, so do what you will. Luo Yunhai perked up and rushed into the fray. Zhuo Fan shook his head. See, this was my last lesson to you on good and evil, righteous and demonic. Now who here is right and who is wrong? Miss Morong. Chapter 1175, Gathering of Royalties. Chapter 1175, Gathering of Royalties. Proofreader, Papatonks. Humph, so this is the loftiest emperor and greatest prime minister in the whole wide world. You got cocky, you showed off, now look where that got you, beneath my boot. Hi, you finally got yours. Now it's our turn to toy with all these big shots, ha. Bang. Bailey Jingwei's group gnashed their teeth without a word, taking all the abuse they threw at them, be it physical or emotional. The abusers grew wilder, stopping only when Luo Yunhai came over to break them up, but even so they left with a wide and scornful smile, like some prized underdog. Murong Shui shook her head, disappointed. These dignified people cast away their people, shirking all duty in face of disaster. Yet they now prance around high and mighty as they take it out on the defeated enemy. Even Bailey Jingwei, the greatest mastermind and our enemy, wouldn't fall so low. Zhuo Fan smiled as he left with a dark glint in his eye. Good and evil begin from thoughts. In this world, who could reign in his wild nature? Ha ha ha. The imperial capital fell. Aside from Shangguan Feiyun and the spies, taken away by the other land's leaders, the rest of the captives were handed to the Luo clan to be dealt with. The news spread like wildfire throughout the empire, crushing the morale of all the forces still trying to fend off the invading Three Lands armies. The empire fell and the central area fell as well. This became the new reality. The Eastern Lands rebellion soon won as well, with the Shangguan clan reinstated as its ruler. The Five Lands regained peace, the Dharma kings returning to their old jobs, handling their lands. Zhuo Fan put everything aside, going with the Luo clan to rest with the others. Luo Sifan and the other two kids were torn from worry. They welcomed her parents back with utter joy, while the oldies from the Luo alliance noticed the first great steward returned as well. Everyone gave him a deep bow of respect. The kids became aware that Steward Zhuo was a monumental existence to the alliance. Also, he wasn't blind. It left them baffled. Zhuo Fan caught up with his old friends, offering a different kind of comfort. 3 days passed and Zhuge Changfeng was with Zhuo Fan in the Luo clan's backyard, enjoying idle talk and playing chess. Luo Sifan was engrossed seeing the pieces fly across the board, glancing at Zhuge Changfeng and seeing him frown hard. She raised her hand to propose, Grandpa Zhuge, here. Ha, young miss, if I place it there, then I'll burn my own foot, with Steward Zhuo not even needing to land the killing blow. Zhuge Changfeng rubbed his beard, chuckling and cupping his hand. Steward Zhuo's chess skills have grown sharper. I admit complete defeat. Luo Sifan pouted. Grandpa Zhuge, you lost 10 rounds already, but weren't said to be the best at chess in the Western Lands? Why? That's when Steward Zhuo wasn't around, since I lost to Steward Zhuo once 100 years ago, haha. Zhuge Changfeng laughed. Zhuo Fan smiled. Prime Minister Zhuge, you're still holding on to that grudge? Ha ha ha. Big brother Zhuo. Master. Luo Yunhai and his wife came over, bowing to him. Zhuge Changfeng and Luo Sifan rose up and greeted them. Clan head, madam. Mom, Dad. Yunhai, you're the clan head, I should be the one to visit you. What are you doing here so early in the morning? Zhuo Fan gathered the pieces on the board while talking casually. Luo Yunhai chuckled. Big brother Zhuo, you jest. I'd never try getting you to visit me. I heard you are back and many of our old friends from the Western Lands are here to see you, even the exalted. Exalted double dragons? Luo Sifan jumped. The exalted have hardly gone around the land and even I never met them. To think they'd show up at our door. That's a given. Zhuge Changfeng smiled. Steward Zhuo defeated the invincible sword, the best in the world. He is now in the Luo clan and it bolsters the Luo alliance's fame and value. They say the Luo clan has replaced the Bailey as the best clan in the world. The exalted have to show respect and can no longer stay haughty like before. Luo Sifan looking at Zhuofan like a prized pony. Uncle Zhuo is so grand. Zhuofan stood and walked. Since we're friendly, let's meet them. I won't get the chance again. Wait. Zhuofan turned back at the sharp shout. Schwanger, it's been a while. I've been in the Luo clan for days yet never saw you around. Where have you been? Ha ha ha. Holy maiden. Zhuofan chuckled in good humor. He was still feeling odd, since Schwanger should have known he was with the Luo clan yet never came to see him. Luo Yunhai's group smiled. Yun Shuang smiled back and took Zhuofan's arm. Come with me. Why? My patriarch wants to see you. Your patriarch? Zhuofan asked curiously. Schwanger's eyes glimmered. Yes, my Yun clan patriarch, Sovereign Yun, one of the 10 ancient sovereigns, wants to see the demonic emperor Zhuo Yifan. Zhuofan's heart tensed, looking grave. The missing Sovereign Yun was in the mortal domain. 10 days later, in a thick forest, a man and a woman dashed through the woods to land among some ruins. Every rock was covered in vines or hidden by the wildlife. This is the Yun clan's ancestral home? Zhuofan asked. Yun Shuang nodded. The Yun clan left this place ages ago, and it came into ruin, making it look bleak. If not for the last 5 lands war growing to such a scale, I might have never come back here to seek my patriarch's blessing. I then stayed here, under his guidance, to cultivate. Yun Shuang made a sign and the random rocks scattered about rippled, and the air shimmered in front. Let's go. Giving Zhuofan a smile, she pulled his hand as she took the lead to enter the shimmering air. The two ended up in a dark cave and found themselves unable to control their bodies, floating in space. The only presence there were the endless stars casting a mystical glow. Boom. The image of a 300-meter-tall old man whooshed in their sight, releasing a white aura and shedding light in this dark space. Welcome to my star space, demonic emperor Zhuo Yifan. Why your Sovereign Yun? Zhuofan's heart shook, finding meeting a sovereign still shocking. He bowed and offered his respect. Greetings, senior. Yun Shuang bowed as well. Greetings, patriarch. There's no need for that. I am but a trace. Sovereign Yun looked stern. Demonic emperor Zhuo Yifan, do you know why I asked for you? Zhuofan never looked up, bowing still. I do not. Please enlighten me, senior. Because you lost something. Without it you will die. Sovereign Yun was grave as he shouted, Boy, your death isn't important, but it will involve the fate of every living thing, bringing misery to us all. You have to get it back, understand? Zhuofan pondered and said, Senior, what am I looking for? You know fully well what. Sovereign Yun shouted, You were operating outside of fate and I could not see your destiny, but I could still see your past. But all these years I had been blind to you. Do you know why? It's because you had something on you that helped you in all your cunning endeavors. Do you know what that is? Zhuofan guessed. Is it that, what senior is referring to? Only you know what you're defined. I'm only giving you a reminder. Sovereign Yun was being cryptic as his hand shone white and revealed a black sphere, throwing it to Zhuofan. This is a 6th grade sacred weapon I made with all my power, World Bridge. No place is out of its reach. As long as you think of somewhere, it will take you there, helping you find what or who you want. It will also guide you towards what you're looking for. Chapter 1176, Opened Ascension Path. Chapter 1176, Opened Ascension Path. Proofreader, Papatonks. Taking a closer look at the black sphere, he noticed energy swirling within, like the primordial energy that made the world, followed by endless stars surrounding it. His mind felt like he was in a vast and endless world, aware of his insignificance in the face of such a universe, an ant squashed by forces unseen. He was jolted to his senses the next moment, sweat trickling down his brow. His heart was filled with fear and unease. His pride and arrogance as a human was squashed then and there. Yun Shuang said, Big brother Zhuo, are you all right? I'm fine. Easing a breath, Zhuofan stared at the black ball. Senior Sovereign Yun, how do I use your treasure? The sovereign smirked, figure out yourself. No matter who or what you're looking for, this world bridge will help you. That's all I had to say, boy. You can go. Sovereign Yun flicked his hand and an astral wind sent Zhuofan flying. Yun Shuang started, Big brother Zhuo. Shuanger. Sovereign Yun shouted, as did Yun Shuang. She turned back and said, Patriarch. I'm about to fade away. Sovereign Yun turned transparent, yet he smiled. Since ancient times, this trace remained because of World Bridge's help. All I've been doing was waiting for a man to appear to give it to him. Now that time has come and I shall vanish. The rest is up to him. Don't let it all go to waste. The voice faded as well in this dark place. With a boom, everything collapsed, turning into fading glimmers. The sun shone within, revealing just an ordinary cave. Patriarch. Schwanger lamented, bowing at the deep cave before leaving. With a start, Zhuofan plopped on the ground, thrown among rocks and kicking up dust. Finally straightening himself, he said, I was clearly in the mountain and now I'm at its foot. The senior sure doesn't see his guests out. Talk about rude. Big brother Zhua. Schwanger came over and saw him covered in dust. Are you all right? Patriarch's dismissal can be a bit harsh. Zhuofan patted the dust off his clothes. It's fine. But are all sovereigns like that? Do all of them have weird hobbies? Schwanger giggled. Big brother Zhua is going back to sacred domain? Can you take me along? Why? You need help and I can lend a hand. Oh that. Zhuofan hesitated, put on the spot. Peak Genesis stage isn't bad, but I know you're bad at fighting. Sacred domain is too. Schwanger was firm in this. Don't underestimate me. Schwanger's eyes shone an eerie blue and an astonishing power came out. With rumbling combing from everywhere, the entire mountain range crumbled on the spot. But it wasn't due to the shaking, it was because it was flattened. Zhuofan felt heavy as well and sank into the earth. Everything in 100 miles sank 300 meters. Schwanger stopped and looked in pride. Well, big brother Zhua? That's a third of what I can do. I refrained from flattening 1,000 miles around since there are people living here. And that's not even my special skill. You're practically a different person after receiving Sovereign Yun's guidance. Zhuofan's face twitched. But why didn't your patriarch train disciples to protect your clan? Schwanger shrugged. Patriarch cared for the world. He only waited here for you to give you something. He doesn't care what befell the clan or how it fares. He only taught me because he sensed your aura 100 years ago and wanted me to help you. I see. But why would he help me? Is it because of the sovereign path? Zhuofan frowned, looking at the black ball in his hand and then patted Schwanger's shoulder. We'll meet in Sword Star Empire's capital in 20 days. Don't be late and don't tell the Luo clan. You're not taking them? What's the point of being in so much danger? Zhuofan sighed. They are kings in the mortal domain and have a stable position. They should enjoy retirement. By going to sacred domain instead, they will have to start over, facing danger upon danger. In short, there are many horrible men there, and even more hidden experts unaccounted for. I even feel scared. Taking them along will make it hard to protect them. Schwanger nodded and sighed. The two returned to the Luo clan and stayed for a few days, meeting old friends from western lands before leaving for the Empire's capital. At that time, a dozen days passed already with most of the people Zhuofan gathered already there. Gu Santong and Xiaoer were obvious, with Yi Lin and other Dharma kings, Bali Yuyu, Bailey Yulei and Bailey Jingtian present as well. Even Murong Shui was going. Miss Murong, you're coming along? Zhuofan asked. Murong Shui nodded. My sight has broadened and I wish to see the upper world if you don't mind. I don't, not since you're your brother's problem now. If he doesn't mind, why should I? Haha. Zhuofan came before the Thunder Pavilion. There was not a trance of lightning as before, turned into an average place. That was because a month back Zhuofan threw a casual seal over it when he was here. Glancing at the bowing Wu Randong nearby, Zhuofan said, After we leave, you are to watch over the mortal domain. At my signal, activate the second array, got it? Krista Klurl. Palace Lord, the Empire is gone and my hatred has quelled. I only wish to fulfill the Palace Lord's orders. Wu Randong bowed sternly. Zhuofan nodded and made a sign. The space around them rippled. Worlds arts combine, seas of spiritual clarity, aid me in activating the array. Open the path to heaven and guide me on my journey. Boom. Every land began shaking, the sky filled with the cries of the frightened. The tunnels dug throughout the lands and packed with sacred stones intertwined as they activated and linked the 5 lands into one gargantuan array. Whoosh. A white pillar shot into the sky from the former beast-taming sect. Violent and volatile power gushed from it, racing through and into the array dug underground, all the way to the imperial capital. Rustle. More pillars of light shot out, from Ultimate Clarity Sect, North Sea, the former Flying Cloud Manor and more. It was like they connected heaven with the earth, unleashing tremendous power. The people near these locations blanked out on the spot, even Genesis experts could barely breathe from the pressure. They could barely crawl on the ground, horrified at the development. 7 pillars in all, scattered throughout the 5 lands, rose into the air. The thick spiritual energy from the sacred domain came pouring in from the whirlwind tunnels, fueling the huge array and coming to the imperial capital. Dragon Ancestor roared in joy, "Haha, at long last, the time of our freedom has come, haha. Finally completed. The kid is about to return, haha. Safe travels, old friend." In the All-Beast mountain range, vaulting Kunping felt the spiritual energy around changing and saw the 7 pillars of light with a wide smile. It all went according to plan, a plan in the making for eons, ha. Whoosh. All that power focused in one area. Zhuofan's eyes shone and made another sign as he pointed. All paths converge, ascension path, open. Boom. With one last strong worldwide shake, the Thunder Pavilion let out its own white pillar into the sky. Boom. The heavens above then manifested a dazzling light, the same one that was calling the Spirit King Bailey Yutian. The path to the sacred domain was finally open. Chapter 1177, Forward Together. Chapter 1177, Forward Together. Proofreader, Papatonks. Drip. The earth shook and water dripped inside a dark prison. A weary middle-aged man sat on a filthy bed, bleak and forlorn. Crack. Noise came from just outside, with a man bowing, "Greetings, Your Majesty." "Open the cell." "Yes." A man in royal garb stepped in, looking at the prisoner in ruined clothes. "Imperial brother, did you hear? That's the sound of old friends leaving. But even as the ruler of a nation, I still had no suitable parting gift." "Who is leaving?" The prisoner looked up, staring at Tianyu's emperor, Yuan Kong. Yuan Song sighed, "My sworn brothers, of course, Zhuofan and the Luo clan. They're going to a bigger world and reaching new heights we could never even dream of. I can only stay here and wish them safe travels." "Ha, for Your Majesty to come see a traitor in person, is it just to show off?" Yuan Yong mocked, "I sided with the Sword Star Empire, the greatest power, only for Zhuofan to later destroy it. Now you have caught me and must be mighty pleased. Now there's no chance of me fighting back. I am at your whim to kill, to maim." Yuan Song looked saddened. "Second brother, to be honest, I'd have truly removed you if this happened 100 years ago. But now everything changed. I felt my power waning with the Luo alliance hanging overhead. I've been depressed and forlorn. But then Luo Yunhai returned to me my full authority. I thought I'd be happy, but all I found within me was an endless void." "Void?" "Yes." Yuan Song sighed, "What's so great about imperial power when all is so futile? For this power I killed my elder brother, harmed my father, and then became a puppet just so that someone would throw me back out like trash. The moment the power returned to me, I cried. What the hell is this? Kings and officials, fathers and sons, tear at each other, and for what? So that one man can stand alone, in the cold harsh emptiness?" Yuan Song teared up, leaving Yuan Yong in shock. "Yes, just what is authority to make me, the foolish and chubby third brother, so ruthless to kill our father and first brother, then hunt you down as well? Second brother, I am confessing here, but you shouldn't pin everything on me either. It was in fact the Crown Prince who killed our father then. I only joined later and killed the Crown Prince on the charge of patricide." "The Crown Prince killed our imperial father? Don't spout nonsense. Why did I hear then that you killed them, teaming up with the Luo clan to take power?" "That's the truth. You're my prisoner, so why would I bother making everything up?" Yuan Song sighed. "Imperial father drew outsiders to fight the Luo clan and set the stage for the Crown Prince's death, all so he could leave the lands to me. In the end, the Crown Prince struck first, the Luo clan had shockingly won, and with them in the shadows I became their puppet emperor. If it weren't for the Luo clan, it still would have been me who inherited it. For Imperial father never planned on giving power to the Crown Prince." Yuan Yong's face shook. "How can that be? I thought you killed them and I've always sought revenge. When the Imperial members vie for power, who doesn't seek revenge?" Yuan Song sighed. "Everyone went insane trying to cull everyone outside of their control. Be it our Imperial father or the Crown Prince who won, neither would have let you, the imprisoned second brother, free. I as well was a threat to the throne and removed." Yuan Yong squinted in a daze, then he slumped powerlessly. "What have I been doing this last century then? Helping those trying to kill me for revenge? Ha ha ha. Guard, release Yuan Yong." Yuan Song shouted and a soldier obeyed. Yuan Song gave him a long look, then smiled. "I had a drink with Zhuofan a few days ago and realized a problem. He never cared for power but winning against the world. We fought hard and bitterly but won the rights to a life of solitude. Second brother, the other lands condemned their traitors with Shangguan Feiyun, Bu Xingyun and the others having a sordid end. You are still my second brother, my only remaining brother. Zhuo Fan had been a true friend to give you to me and none other cared much either. Now Yuan clan has another member left alive. Yuan Yong could finally move and doubted, aren't you afraid I'll come back to fight you? Fight me? I'm but the lord of a third-rate empire while you climb to be a valued minister in the Sword Star Empire? Why would you come after me? Yuan Tsong mocked, turning to leave. Zhuo Fan left, Luo clan left, all old friends left. I have no brothers and I'm going to live a life of solitude. And with your crimes, even if I succeed the throne to you, would the Double Dragon Manor agree? If you can take down the Double Dragon Manor, why come for my throne then? Funny, isn't it? Ha ha ha. Yuan Yang's eye twitched as he watched the emperor leave. Nothing mattered in the end. It's all nothing but pure bias. Why even fight anymore? Ah. Yuan Yong walked out with a hunched back, feeling like centuries caught up with him. Meanwhile, Zhuo Fan finished the signs and regarded the light pillar. He turned to the others, this is the path to the upper world, follow me. Once we arrive, you have to listen to all I say, lest you get on someone's bad side and never see the light of day again. Yes. Everyone shouted. Yi Lin took the first step to Zhuo Fan. Big brother, isn't it a recoil array to break open the mortal domain? Why did it change into a path of ascension? What about master and others? They'll wait for a bit. Zhuo Fan squinted. Yi Lin, do you have that much trust in those old bones' words? All we got from what happened is from their mouths. Who can prove it's real? Zhuo Fan's eyes shone, emphasizing every word. You saw every aspect of humanity in the Five Lands War and can tell. Central Area defeating the Four Lands did not mean their destruction. For lands defeating the Empire didn't mean Central Area's fortune. Each power fights for itself. There's no morality involved, no good, no evil. By letting those old monsters go, can you guarantee it won't blow up in our faces? What? Yi Lin frowned in hesitation. Zhuo Fan had a grave look, putting a hand on his shoulder. We'll go first to see the situation in the sacred domain. If it's like those guys said, I'll give Wu Randong the signal and he'll activate the recoiling array to free them. But if it's a lie, painting themselves as victims for their sake and that of world peace, they'll be locked up for the rest of their lives. Don't give me that and get a move on. Zhuo Fan pushed and threw Yi Lin into the pillar, gone before he could scream. Zhuo Fan turned to the rest, beaming, who's next? Me. A roar of anger came as a girl flashed in his view. Zhuo Fan started, why young miss, what? You foul cretin, you're taking off again and leaving us behind. And no, it's just that there isn't suited for you. Big brother Zhuo, no matter what you say we agreed to stay together. You have no right to slip away. Luo Yunhai smiled, look, I've brought the whole clan to fight alongside you. Li Jingtian's venerables appeared, Li Jingtian and the power couple, as well as thousands of Genesis stage veteran soldiers. Even Luo Sifan and the brats came. Zhuo Fan shook his head, aren't you afraid of leaving the Luo Alliance's core empty? No, out with the old and in with the new. Luo Yunhai waved, we built the Luo Alliance here, then we can do it again there. Big brother Zhuo, I'm still young and have ambition. I fear nothing. Let us do this together. Yes, Steward Zhuo, let us follow you. The others shouted their agreements. Zhuo Fan sighed, yet he felt gratified inside. Just as he was about to speak, someone pushed him into the pillar. No more talking. Let's all go. Someone held Zhuo Fan and dragged him inside the pillar with a sweet smile. Chapter 1178, Lightning Tribulation. Chapter 1178, Lightning Tribulation. Proofreader, Papatonks. Everyone vanished one after the other. Wu Randong made a sign when he was alone, and the gaudy pillar of light faded away. The other 7 pillars in the 5 lands followed suit. Wu Randong smirked, looking at the sky, take care, Palace Lord. Until next time, brother Zhuo. Wu Qingqiu and the others watched them go from a distance with cupped hands. I really want to go as well and see the wider world outside, but you had sect matters to attend to. I also have my clan to consider as well. Shengguan Qingyan shrugged. What's more, we have to watch over the grand array he took a century to set up and receive him at any time. He gave us harsh warnings about this. It may very well be related to his survival. Wu Qingqiu nodded and smiled. Yes, he has a lot of trust in us, with his life even, to give us such a task to cooperate with Devil Palace in guarding the Grand Array. We are not about to let him down. Ha ha ha. The others smiled broadly. While they watched Zhuofan go, filled with respect and trust, in ultimate clarity sect, the dragon ancestor blinked at the sudden disappearance of the light pillars. What the hell? The mortal domain isn't open yet, so why did it stop? Then it hit him and he raged, "Rotten cretin, you have the nerve to throw us away? Just you wait. You're going to pay for this. We'll wreck you so hard you'll come back crying, begging us for help. Curses." He left for good this time. In the North Sea, heaven-sealing CAO peeked his head out of the water, sensing the world settling, shaking his head in boredom. "Boy, take care. Who knows when you'll be back." The huge head dipped back under the water. Being around Zhuofan for 100 years made him recall those ancient times he interacted with humans, filled with warmth and joy. Now he was back to being alone. Whoosh. The mortal domain's people each had their thoughts regarding Zhuofan's leaving. But in the sacred domain, in a scorched area, a beam of light appeared and people walked out of it. The thick spiritual energy slammed into their face, flooding their every fiber and making their yuan qi run wild without even focusing on cultivating. They all were left speechless. Is this the world the patriarch wanted to see? It's incredible. The degree of spiritual energy here is scary, no different from a sacred stone mine, no, 10 times denser. With the sacred stone mine sealed off, the amount mined was very little for everyone to enjoy. But here and now, this was a cultivator's paradise. Everyone was overjoyed, with Bali Yuyu giggling. "Zhuofan, is this devil mound dash?" Her joy was short-lived as she turned to him. "Young miss, we've arrived. Can you let go?" Zhuofan sighed, laying on the scorched earth with Luo Yunchang clutching to him for her dear life. Luo Yunchang smirked, happy to hold him with closed eyes. "No, or you'll just be running off again. This place is foreign to me. I couldn't find you in the 5 lands and this will go double here. So you better stay put, for I'm not letting you go. Get off already." A dainty hand grabbed her collar and yanked her off Zhuofan. Bailey Yuyu looked mighty jealous. "Have you no shame, woman? Throwing yourself at a man in broad daylight? He's my steward, why do you care who I throw myself to? If you hate it so much, will engaging in such activity at night be to your liking? Damn you. That's enough." Bali Yuyu was fuming mad, but Zhuofan interfered. He brushed off the dust and stood up with a stern look. "We have arrived and I have to give you fair warning not to wander about and draw trouble. We can't take any of it, understand?" All were just as grave as him. Zhuofan continued, "First off, this place is called the Sacred Domain. Compared to mortal domain, everything is a few stages higher, with treasures at every step, making this place teeming with experts. I'm sure you've already felt the outrageous spiritual energy density, making it easy to cultivate. While in the mortal domain, a supreme genius of 12 achieving bone-tempering stage can be praiseworthy, and reaching the profound heaven stage would be monstrous. Here, however, radiant stage kids are running all over the place, with more talented being in the ethereal stage, and the true monsters at the Genesis stage. Especially you 3 brats, listen up. Your parents might have let you come to set up shop in this great place, but this is no paradise. It is hell. Walking about as you are, any other 16-year-old will wipe the floor with you. So be careful, for those days of lording over with status and power are over." SSS. Everyone gasped in shock. Yes, that's exactly what I mean. In the mortal domain we were at the peak, but here we're at the bottom, no different than common people. Zhuofan spoke coldly, "So in the sacred domain, if you want to hold any kind of power, you need to be a spirit king at the very least. Anything in the mortal stages are ants. That's why none of us have the right to show off and must keep our noses down." Everyone grew heavy, feeling apprehension. They were among the top in the mortal domain and now they ended up scraping the barrel. Zhuofan smirked, "But there's no need to be discouraged. You're at the bottom because the mortal domain's conditions were too poor. Based on talent alone, you're sacred domain monsters as well. Especially the sword kings. Reaching spirit king stage should be easy, taking only time. So all we need to do is endure for a while and then we can leave our mark on sacred domain." Truly? Everyone's eyes glimmered. They were all men who enjoyed status. Even though they sank to rock bottom, they now had faith they could make a comeback. What of Devil Mountain? Is it the same as Sacred Domain? Bali Yuyu asked, getting the attention of everyone. Right, he always says he came from Devil Mountain, so why are we in Sacred Domain? Zhuofan's eyes shone, giving a sinister smirk. Of course it isn't. Devil Mountain is but a part of Sacred Domain. Don't be quick to think Devil Mountain is friendly either. From now on, Devil Mountain is in fact our greatest opponent. Everyone shuddered. It's not his sect? Why? Rumble. Thunderclaps sounded from the heavens as lightning snaked about the black clouds. Flinching, the people panicked. But then their power started boiling like breaking through. They all cried out. Zhuofan exclaimed, yes, mortal domain was not just barren of spiritual energy but also being suppressed. Coming to Sacred Domain is like overcoming all adversity, and thus our cultivation will soar. Especially a Sword King's who had been kept at the peak for too long, he'll be rushing to advance, without a moment to lose. Damn it. Why is it so bad? Isn't advancing a good thing? What do any of you know? Zhuofan frowned hard, looking at the roiling thunderclouds. Other stage increases aside, reaching Spirit King stage means you're shedding the mortal coil, being remade. That means a lightning tribulation will fall on you to rebuild your meridians and purify yuan qi. One breaking through is fine, but the issue here is that there are so many at peak Genesis stage. With all calling forth lightning, the power will multiply. The issue isn't you withstanding it, but Yunhai and the rest suffering as a result. Chapter 1179, Scarlet Lightning Valley. Chapter 1179, Scarlet Lightning Valley. Proofreader, Papatonks. Everyone got restless at his words, with Murong Lai saying, all Genesis stage cultivators with me. We'll draw away the lightning tribulation. Too late. Glancing at the thundering clouds above, lightning struck nearby, leaving behind a black crater 50 miles wide. Zhuofan squinted and shook. Black energy came out of him, covering Luo Yunhai and thousands of others below Genesis stage. I'll protect them with my domain while you get some distance and take on your tribulation. Murong Lai and the rest shot away. But another boom sounded as lightning slammed overhead and cut off their flight. But recalling the many innocent lives behind, they kept forcing themselves to fly. Boom. Lightning snaked and struck down on them. Zhuofan held the fort, ignoring the lightning striking him as well. He worked his energy to keep the others safe. At the same time, black energy was released around, absorbing the lightning's power to increase his own cultivation. His meridians and yuan qi were being refined with every strike. He was only in the 7th layer of Genesis stage, but ever since he arrived here and felt the thick spiritual energy, his cultivation grew as well. While he was defending the Luo clan and the rest, he was also taking in the heavens' power, strengthening himself several times. With a muffled sound he reached the 8th layer. Zhuofan grinned. Boom. Another lightning came down on his head and he shook all over. His demon transformation art was revved up to the max, working to remove the lightning's power, but still a fraction got loose within him, roaming through his veins and making his body spasm. Blood spilled from his mouth. He chose to contain it and endure. He could, in fact, use more of his focus to absorb the violent lightning, but then who'd defend the little guys? He could only bear it in silence. Boom. The deadly lightning struck again and again, thick as a bucket or thin as a plate, crashing down like a mountain 81 times. Zhuofan bore through it, and while his body smoked now, he was still fine. His meridians at least had strengthened and his cultivation reached the 9th layer. Haha, looks like I'm close to Spirit King as well. Zhuofan looked at the scattering black clouds and sighed, never mind, taking 81 lightning strikes almost burned through all my body. Taking another round right now to advance to the Spirit King level will most likely kill me. Next time. Zhuofan felt his aching body, but his power surged with vigor through his limbs. Only a monster like Zhuofan, able to fight a Spirit King, could take something like that. Other Genesis cultivators would have breathed their last around the 30th strike. Just as Zhuofan was about to let the others out, booming sounded again and looked up. The deadly lightning echoed in his ears once more. His brow jumped, his face twitching. You don't mean it's still coming, do you? Boom. Another explosion was his answer to that challenge as an even thicker lightning slammed into him. The dreadful power made him tremble all over as he spurted blood. What is this? That's no lightning tribulation. No such lightning has that kind of power. Zhuofan peered at the sky in shock, finding the thunderclouds weren't just black, but laced with crimson. Soul-sucking blood lightning? This is Scarlet Lightning Valley. Looking at the burnt soil below, Zhuofan finally knew where he was in Sacred Domain. Lightning constantly struck it and on a different level than outside this area. Each lightning was devastating in might, turning a brighter red the stronger it was. Once a red lightning fell, even a saint would have to be wary, yet a white lightning could press hard as Spirit King. That was what made this place so desolate. No one wanted to come in here just to die the next second. What's with our rotten luck? We just came to Sacred Domain and landed in this place. Zhuofan gnashed his teeth. This place wasn't up to Lightning Canyon, but it wasn't far behind either. Right, Thunder Pavilion? Zhuofan exclaimed in realization. The 8 whirlwind tunnels in the mortal domain corresponded with Sacred Domain's 8 extreme locations. Thunder Pavilion was linked to this Scarlet Lightning Valley. Since they came through the Thunder Pavilion's location, they ended up in this godforsaken place. All the constant lightning around the Thunder Pavilion was due to this place as well. Zhuofan held his head. This is freaking fate, I tell you. The recoiling array needed to draw spiritual energy from all around. The crucial thing is balance. Its best location was the heart of the 5 lands, which was Thunder Pavilion, which made coming from mortal domain to the sacred domain always going to be here. The Scarlet Lightning Valley couldn't be avoided. Now we just have to get the hell out of here under a shower of lightning before a scarlet one drops on us. Zhuofan's eyes shone and a demonic sword appeared in his palm, shining scarlet. Soaring sword art, soaring heaven. Zhuofan slashed and a scarlet sword wave shot at the thunderclouds. Rumble. White flashed just then, striking the wave. Scarlet and red collided and dissipated, but Zhuofan's art remained, its power piercing the clouds and punching a hole through them. Zhuofan grinned. This works. Now I just have to break down the clouds and the scarlet lightning can't form. But he then watched as the clouds flickered with lightning and sealed back the hole like it never happened. Zhuofan's face twitched, his hand waving the sword around as he sent attacks at the clouds. I'll just have to be faster than its recovery. Booms sounded constantly, the sword waves clashing with the lightning, yet the art's power reached the clouds many times and punched holes in it. But then the lightning grew in strength and Zhuofan's soaring sword art lost its advantage, until it could no longer even block it. The following lightning struck Zhuofan and numbed his whole body while the holes in the sky were patched up as a trace of scarlet flashed. Zhuofan started. Once they start turning red, I'll have no chance. Zhuofan's hands were sweaty. Ding. A ringing reached his ears and Zhuofan flinched. His thunder ring flashed purple and the sundering sword appeared in his other hand. Oh, sundering sword, what are you up to? Zhuofan asked. Whoosh. The purple sword released a powerful lightning wave, then took Zhuofan to face the heavens. Zhuofan blinked, but still chose to follow the spirited sword into facing this challenge. Boom. Lightning thundered and a huge strike came down at Zhuofan. It even contained a trace of red. Damn it, the lightning changed. Zhuofan panicked, wanting to block with the demonic sword, but the sundering sword moved first, slapping it out of the way and releasing a strong purple wave. It carried Zhuofan's arm and struck hard. Boom. With a deafening explosion, the purple lightning wave blasted the incoming attack into harmless motes of light. The purple sword then shot into the thunderclouds and blew a huge hole in them, greatly weakening the charged lightning clouds. To the point the snaking lightning glowing red turned white. This is destruction, the power of the sundering sword art. Zhuofan's eyes shook. I see, the soaring sword art might be tough enough to break heaven, but clouds are formless, merely pushed back and not dissipated, letting them recover fast. But with the sundering sword art, containing the power of destruction, the thunderclouds were greatly weakened. Chapter 1180, Sundering Sword's Inheritance. Chapter 1180, Sundering Sword's Inheritance. Proofreader, Papatonks. Ding. The sundering sword hummed softly as if to confirm his words. Zhuofan snickered. Then, sundering sword, rise with me and break that lightning, tear a hole in the sky so that I can use apocalyptic thunderflame to make sure it never recovers, ha. Bam. The sundering sword put a stop to his mad cackle, smacking his head with the wide part of the blade, making his nose swell. What was that for? Rubbing his poor nose, Zhuofan snapped back, irate. I wield you now, you're my sword. I'm your master. Is that how you treat me? See how I pulverize your sword spirit. The sundering sword paused, then struck again, only this time it did on the demonic sword. Ding. Wanna fight? Don't mess with me. The demonic sword was no pushover, reacting by floating in front of the sundering sword and taunting it. The sundering sword just stood still. Zhuo Fan said, "You're saying to put all my skill aside and use just you to face the thunder clouds." Ding. The sundering sword shook again. "Hey, don't just ignore me. I'm made of sterner stuff for swords in fact. Yet a newbie like you tries to take my place? Why should master use just you? Trying to replace me, is that it? Ha, keep dreaming, hunk of rust, in a few days you'll be a part of me, hi hi hi." The demonic sword had enough of the sundering sword's arrogance and brandished its edge, trying to pick a fight. Zhuo Fan nodded, "All right, I'll give you this chance. Demonic sword, return." The demonic sword stalled, looking stumped at his master's decision, even depressed. "Master, you already got a new flame and forgot your trusted sidekick? I'm made of 4 blades here." Demonic sword didn't make a fuss, noticing Zhuo Fan's determination, turning into a black light and slipping in his body. Zhuo Fan gripped the sundering sword and it took him towards the sky to fight the heavens. Lightning struck constantly, yet all Zhuo Fan did was swing the sundering sword around, destroying the attacks as purple glows flared on every contact. The utter destruction of the lightning had the thunderclouds growing weaker. When Zhuo Fan used the soaring sword art, he only scattered the lightning power in the clouds, only delaying its growth and not stopping the source. Now though, he had the means to destroy them. Boom. Zhuo Fan charged into the thunderclouds with the sundering sword, with lightning coming from all around now. "If I use Thunderflame Void Annihilation now, the clouds." Bam. Zhuo Fan indulged in a flight of fancy, but the sudden knock to the head brought him back to reality. Zhuo Fan sighed and shook his head. "Fine, I get it, no other skills but you, happy? But how is a lone sword supposed to remove all the thunderclouds in a 1,000-mile area? Time waits for no one, and once red starts appearing." The sundering sword was silent, for a lack of a better word. Then it started moving and took Zhuo Fan's hand with it. Its blade shone a deep purple glow. Zhuo Fan shook all over, as a figure suddenly appeared in his mind as he wielded the sundering sword. "Sundering, one day I will take you to the top, become the focus of everyone, ha." Bailey Yuqian cackled among the flaring lightning clouds as he hacked at the incoming attacks with pride and arrogance. "Only I am worthy of such a divine sword, not those common folk." "But," Bailey Yuqian paused, showing fear, "there will always be someone better out there. If one day someone can take you from me, it proves I'm not worthy of you, and you should have a much stronger master. He will be just like me, taking you to the top and not disgrace your sundering name, of splitting the heavens. By then I shall be dead, but you must pass on all my knowledge and insight in the way of the sword to him. If I can't take you to the top, then my path will." The sundering sword shook to console him. "Haha, I'm only assuming here. Who in the world could ever defeat me? Don't worry about it, haha." Bailey Yuqian wielded the divine sword with burning battle spirit. Zhuo Fan finally understood the sundering sword. It passed on Bailey Yuqian's legacy. There was none out there better than Bailey Yuqian when it came to understanding the sundering sword art, not even the sword sovereign. While he had made the 5 divine swords by combining their arts with the 5 sacred beasts' powers, he was not the least bit aware of what changes that brought. Bailey Yuqian, however, was a man immersed in the sundering sword art all his life, having understood the core of the sundering sword art. Why else would the sundering sword's inheritance have Bailey Yuqian's image and not someone else's? There had to be countless people wielding it through eons, including the sword sovereign. But only one man truly understood it. Zhuo Fan's gaze steeled, slashing around based on Bailey Yuqian's example. Wind picked up and purple lightning flared as the sword fell. The thunderclouds around shone and then faded away. From just the sword's intent, lightning exploded in all directions and the world crumbled. Zhuo Fan forgot himself in this state, his form following Bailey Yuqian's actions to perfection as he unleashed devastating and brutal sword strikes. By the time he finished the entire set of strikes, the sky was clear of thunderclouds and the sun shone brightly on the scorched earth for the first time ever. Zhuo Fan felt a tear come loose at the display. Not due to him, but induced by the sundering sword spirit, having their minds linked. The sword spirit might not speak, but it could send Zhuo Fan its deep emotions. Purple flickered from the sundering sword, blending with the world's spiritual energy. Zhuo Fan saw as the sword spirit scattered its own energy to return to the earth once it passed on the sundering sword art. A true sacrifice for a true friend. With the death of the invincible sword, it wanted to follow him as well. But his wish to pass on his legacy kept it here. Now it could pass on as well without remorse. The sundering sword now became just an empty shell. Zhuo Fan reached the top. As the last purple energy faded, Zhuofan saw the invincible sword shout in his mind and knew it to be the sword spirit blessing him instead of its former master. Zhuofan smirked and nodded, like master like sword like master. The sundering sword spirit was as carefree and heroic as the invincible sword. Tracing the purple divine sword's blade, Zhuofan smiled and placed it in his ring, his eyes firm. I will reach the top along with your sword art. Whoosh. Murong Lai and the others popped up next to Zhuofan. Sir Zhua, are you all right? Yes, what about you? Zhuofan flicked his hand and the domain faded, revealing strong auras. Luo Yunhai's group had broken their restraints and entered Genesis stage, while the three kids were now in ethereal stage. Zhuofan nodded, turning to the Sword Kings with a glint in his eye. Murong Lai's group had been kept for so long behind that now they were at peak Spirit King stage. Even Li Jingtian and the elders reached mid-Spirit King stage. They were all thrilled at the boundless yuan qi they felt. Steward Zhua, your cultivation fell again to the 5th layer of bone tempering stage. Li Jingtian gasped. Zhuofan now focused on his own cultivation and cried out in astonishment, Mid-Spirit King? Having met with lightning tribulation, the peak Genesis stage Zhuofan, due to Sundering Sword's inheritance, his heart grew as well as making the true self art bring his cultivation down to the bone tempering stage, while his true cultivation lay at mid-Spirit King stage. Though reaching Spirit King brought lightning tribulation, Zhuofan had been waving Sundering Sword around without restraint, thus he unknowingly cut his own tribulation down before he could feel it. He felt down at the realization. I missed the chance to toughen my body. But since he got a taste of the others' tribulations, his regret faded. What's the point of going through all that again when I already got a Spirit King's body the first time around? Ah. Everyone. With all safe and sound and Zhuofan gaining the Sundering Sword's insight, a bargain to be honest, his eyes flashed. With our Spirit King's cultivation levels, we now can form a group. Sword Kings, having gotten a Divine Sword's insights, will be more than mere Spirit Kings. I dare say that we can now jump ahead and carve our own slice of the sacred domain. Chapter 1181. Hunter Hunted. Chapter 1181. Hunter Hunted. Proofreader, Papatonks. Come right up. Top spirit ores, black crystals and other top goods. 12th grade pills. The peddlers were shouting their wares in the market of a small town, having put them on a dazzling display for all interested parties, making this place buzz with activity. In front of the town there was a towering guard post, with the word on it spelling Joy Town. A girl led her 12 imposing Genesis stage guards up to the entrance. She also had one thin youth right next to her. The bustling little town fell utterly silent. Everyone turned their heads at the unfamiliar faces, each pair of eyes glimmering with hidden intentions. It lasted merely moments as they all resumed the chatter and activity like the previous unnerving pause never occurred. Luo Yunchang found it strange, giving Zhuofan a look, but the latter smiled as he signaled them all to enter the town. The market was just as busy as before, yet it now had a strange vibe to it. The eyes of all the people found themselves resting on the newcomers at one point or another. Luo Yunchang was unnerved, her face grave as she clutched Zhuofan's hand. Zhuofan, this town is creepy. We wouldn't be here otherwise, ha ha ha. Zhuofan snickered, his eyes taking in every last face around, showing the same hunting gaze as the townfolks. Zhuofan took Luo Yunchang and the others to a tavern and bowed. Young miss, it's getting late. Could we rest here? Luo Yunchang nodded, following his intention of going inside after him. Whence you came and where you're hailing, travelers? Will you be stopping by or resting? A dolled-up middle-aged woman smiled the minute they entered, asking and scanning them like a hawk. Zhuofan said, have 5 of your best rooms ready. Young miss will take 1 and the rest are for us, 13. Oh, 5 rooms? The host looked troubled. Forgive me, but my meager establishment does not have so many empty rooms. How many are there then? 1. 1 isn't enough. Zhuofan shook his head. We can't have young miss take it and have no one watch over her. Young miss, let's just find another tavern. Luo Yunchang gave him a look and nodded. We'll do as Steward Zhua says. This is the only tavern in Joy Town. Going out to find more and you'll be left sleeping with the stars overhead. A shout came. They all jumped, looking to find a middle-aged man covered in fine attire and glittering decorations. The hostess lit up and bowed. Steward Fong. Owner, this doesn't concern you. I'll take care of our new friends. Steward Fang smiled and sent the hostess away before he cupped his hands towards the group. I am Fang Ding, the steward of Liao clan. How may I address you? Zhuofan gave a curt nod, smiling back with cupped hands. I am Zhuofan, Luo clan steward. Here is my young Miss Luo Yunchang and her guards. Trading brought us through this area and we thought of resting after noticing the darkened sky. Oh, you're a steward. Fang Ding's eyes shone with suspicion. Brother Zhua, if I may be so bold, your cultivation is a little. Zhuofan caught his meaning and looked crestfallen as he sighed, not willing to talk about it. Luo Yunchang intervened. To be honest, Steward Zhua was born with incomplete meridians, unable to compare with other fellow cultivators. But his intellect is beyond reproach. My father especially had him take over our affairs. A steward isn't a fighting role, so what's the point of a high cultivation, wouldn't you say? Ha ha ha. Luo Yunchang held Zhuofan's hand, giving him a compassionate pat on the hand. Well, I'll be, the pretty boy is mooching off her. Fang Ding reached an instant conclusion. A 20-something-year-old guy in the bone-tempering stage is worse than a toddler. Might as well spare him from a crippled life. No matter how sharp he is up there, there's no way to become a steward. While a steward is no fighter, he is, after all, the face of a clan. He clearly curried favor to reach his position. Humph, the kid is garbage. Fang Ding was smart enough not to speak his mind though. Brother Zhua, there's a master in every walk of life. Now you're a steward and tomorrow a leader. Fang Ding patted his shoulder as he laughed. Since I find you so close and you all have nowhere to stay, why not spend the night at the Liao Manor? Luo Yunchang perked up, but was looking immensely gratified as she bowed. What a great idea, but we wouldn't want to impose on your clan head. Young Miss Luo, my master is a most hospitable person. Everyone in 100 miles knows him for his generosity. My master would help any in times of need when they knock on his door, be it stranger or fellow townsman. Fang Ding smiled. Why else would this town be called Joy Town? I'm sure you've noticed our people's cheerful nature. This place is under my master's supervision. He is sure to go wild with joy having you staying over at his place. The hostess then giggled, coming over and complaining, Master Liao is a man of honor and integrity. He stole so many of my guests, I'm scraping a living here, ha. Fang Ding smiled. Luo Yunchang and Zhuofan shared a look, then said with respect, then thank you so much, Steward Fang. Excuse us for imposing. Young Miss Luo is too kind. Fang Ding returned their gesture. Fang Ding lead them out of the tavern. The hostess' face went dark just then, showing a cruel smile as bloodlust boiled in her eyes. Fang Ding brought Zhuofan's group minutes later to a large manor. He greeted the guards and walked in. The guards beamed and bowed, unlike any guards from the usual lording clans. Luo Yunchang felt her hair stand on end, noticing the disdain hidden behind the facade, gripping Zhuofan's hand tighter. Young Miss Luo, please wait a moment while I fetch master. In the large hall, Fang Ding bowed as he made his escape. Zhuofan smiled back, looking around the place. Taking a deep breath, Luo Yunchang whispered, Zhuofan, something definitely not right about this place. Of course there isn't. Who in their right mind set up a town at the edge of Scarlet Lightning Valley without a good reason? From what I know, there's been a large war here once, turning it into a wasteland with no people or resources. Who would ever want to stay here? Zhuofan's eyes shone, looking at the manor with a smirk. The ones coming here can only be those with checkered past no one wants. They only know how to live by harming others, through means no one would speak of in the open. Not even demonic cultivators dare to step in here. For all they know, that bright and cheerful smile could be hiding a bloodthirsty monster. Luo Yunchang shuddered. What the hell are we doing here then? Let's run before. Run? We came here to scout and check their limits so as to choose the best way to make our move. Zhuofan mocked, in a lawless corner like this, just how bad could it get? He wants to be the hunter, but time will tell who the real prey is, humph. Luo Yunchang nodded. Zhuofan, are we really going to steal another's turf? Of course. Zhuofan nodded. The sacred domain has long since been split up and the borders are not about to change overnight. For outsiders like us who want to keep low, we can only do that by assuming another's place. There's nothing remotely honorable about Joy Town, but someone still knows it. That gives us the certified identity we desperately need. Chapter 1182, Liao Clan Head. Chapter 1182, Liao Clan Head. Proofreader, Papatonks. In a dark room, a used rocking chair creaked as it swayed at the motions of an elderly man with white hair and a dim expression. Fong Ding bowed. Clan head, I've looked into them on the way and they're merchants. The highest level cultivator is their clan head, a spirit king holding a bit of sway in a small town. They have nothing else to their name. We can begin. How are the goods? The elderly man spoke in a jittery tone. Fong Ding was solemn. Clan head, be assured they're exquisite. The young miss and the 12 guards are in Genesis stage. Only that pretty boy Steward is a waste at bone tempering stage and can be ignored. Let's take a look. The elderly man coughed and walked out with Fong Ding behind him. With a light coughing, the elderly man entered the main hall. Luo Yunchang's group stood up and greeted him. The elderly man's black and blue face, like a freak's, had the women frightened, and they let out an ah. Zhuofan squinted, sizing him up. Is my face that scary, young miss? The old man coughed twice and smiled before taking the main seat with Fong Ding at his side. The women strained to keep a straight face as they bowed. Clan head Liao, forgive our loss of composure. It's fine, I know better than anyone just how ghastly I look. Everyone jumps the first time, haha. The old man waved off their concern, then sized them up with a glimmer in his eyes. Luo Yunchang felt a chill come over her, like she was being put on display for others to judge her worth. The old man restrained his piercing gaze and showed a wide smile. Steward Fong has been telling me young Miss Luo's father is a lord over a city. Which was it again? Magical city? Luo Yunchang smiled. The old man pondered. Magical city is nothing special, occupying around 100 miles, far smaller than my town. Any spirit king can take the lead there. The Luo clan shouldn't be a tough nut to crack then? The elderly man continued, magical city, under whose administration? Liao clan head, please, everyone knows the 8 emperors of the sacred domain. Half of sacred domain belongs to the 8 emperors while the other half to the 7 sacred mountains. The bits and pieces stuck in between are at the discretion of the tougher spirit kings to fight over. They're places no one cares about and, unfortunately, housing people they care even less. Luo Yunchang sighed. Father offered a gift at the start of the year to the Lord of Tempest City and hoped to get his recommendation to gain the Sword Emperor's help. But even the last of the Sword Emperor's 72 city lords did not deign to see us. He even threw our gift out the door, forcing Father to come back in disappointment. It's not easy to get on anyone's good graces. The old man sighed. Yes, in these times great danger awaits any who do not have a strong backer. You have managed to get a city lord position today, but tomorrow someone else will take it from you. Yes, these are harsh times, eh? Luo Yunchang gave him an odd look. Liao clan head, I beg your pardon? What do you mean by that last part? The old man had an eerie grin, that I'm so relieved your father has no one to turn to. It'll give me that much sweeter sleep once I take you, ha. Luo Yunchang started in shock and jumped to her feet. The 12 guards and Zhuofan moved to defend her. Don't waste your energy, insects. The old man sneered, and with a flick of his hand, the group felt a gale coming at them and flung them into the air. They then vanished the next second and reappeared in a place where there were piles and piles of bones. Luo Yunchang shrieked, then looked for Zhuofan. Ah, Zhuofan, save me. Barrier. Zhuofan squinted at his surroundings and said, to think the town had such a place. On the surface it looked flourishing, but beneath it hid a mountain of bones. Luo Yunchang clutched to him for dear life as she looked around in worry. How do we escape? There is no escape. Your meager strength won't ever get out of my first-grade sacred array. A laughter came from everywhere in this morbid place, and the old man re-emerged in front of them with a snicker. Fong Ding and all the town folks were here as well, laughing at the Luo clan's flustered and panicked looks. Bang. Luo Yunchang's anger-fueled fist let out muffled sounds as it landed on the invisible barrier that's surrounding them, roaring, Geezer, let us out right now or you'll be sorry. Let you go? Why, on account of your third-rate city's lord of a father. Ha ha ha. The old man cackled. Please, not only do I not fear him, but would you believe me when I tell you that he won't even suspect me, woman? Luo Yunchang's face fell, her eyes staring hard. Zhuofan smiled. True enough, with Scarlet Lightning Valley being so close, any disappearance would immediately think it is the main reason. Who'd ever think such a joyful little town would hide a den of bloodthirsty monsters? I must say you're more than you look, kid. You got good eyes on you. The old man cocked an eyebrow as he gave Zhuofan another careful look. I can see it's not just your pretty looks that got you the steward job. So you do have skill after all. Yes, I picked this place because of Scarlet Lightning Valley offering a perfect excuse for any and all kills that I make. No one would ever think it was me. Zhuofan smiled. Right, you're quite cautious, looking into all travelers that reach your town. You're letting those with backing go while striking at the nameless ones. It mattered little if those little groups the victims belonged to had the power or not, especially since you have Scarlet Lightning Valley as cover. Let's say your cover is blown, but even then as Peak Spirit King you'd make light work of them. You've made a killer living in this place and it's safe too. You know me so well, kid, despite being a cripple. I'm starting to like you. The old man nodded, offering, why not join me and I'll spare you. Zhuofan smirked. Luo Yunchang was furious, hammering away at the impervious barrier while screaming like a banshee. You could be the lord of your own area with your strength, so why did you choose to do such things instead? Even working under the 8 emperors should be easier than attacking in the shadows. The old man gnashed his teeth, then eased with powerlessness. Because he has no other choice. No matter how much the 8 emperors love talent, they'll never take in someone who uses the soul-devouring array. They'd rather avoid repeating the age-old scenario of being hunted down by all of Sacred Domain. Zhuofan's eyes shone as he shouted. The old man shuddered from shock, glaring hard at Zhuofan. Who the hell are you? How do you know? As for the town folk, they were equally overwhelmed. Soul-devouring array? What's that? Luo Yunchang frowned hard. With an evil smile, Zhuofan stared at the other party, opening the sordid past hidden for so many years. Soul Eater is a demonic cultivation art that took everything from another cultivator to further their own power. Only what it's absorbed also contains regret and hatred, taking its toll on the user's mind while rotting the body from the inside. Therefore, restraint is an absolute must with this method, to purge all the hatred first and strengthen one's core before using it again. That is if one doesn't want to end up becoming a walking corpse. Zhuofan pointed at the old man's ghastly face and laughed. The old man's face twitched, boiling mad. Chapter 1183, Messing with the Wrong Guy. Chapter 1183, Messing with the Wrong Guy. Proofreader, Papatonks. That's because of the art? Luo Yunchang gasped. Zhuofan grinned. Yep, this is where those absorbing constantly without moderation get. Young miss, have another look at the piles of bones. He sucked them dry, so much so that the hatred and death festered beneath his skin so much that his body couldn't take it. He's a spirit king, but with a withered look, he's getting very close to keeling over. The only thing prolonging his miserable existence is doing it over and over again, which also further amplifies the problem. To survive, he has to absorb many more people, leading to more dangerous absorption. This vicious cycle would invoke the wrath of all cultivators. There's no emperor out there who would take such an unnecessary risk. It's like committing social suicide, which is why he would be hated like that patriarch, Liao Tianding, in the past. How do you know so much? The old man looked at Zhuofan like he was a monster. Luo Yunchang's brow shook. Liao Tianding? An even more suicidal fool. Zhuofan smirked, his face grave. That guy wasn't as subtle as his grandson here in avoiding genocide. He had no qualms about killing scores of people. He was a demon among demons, the first ever to be called a demon king. City after city turned into ghost towns with their only residents being piles of bones. His frozen cultivation also jumped from Spirit King all the way to Saint, just short of becoming a sovereign. All he missed was a sovereign path, otherwise he would have lived forever. Too bad he first became a public enemy, inciting the wrath of the entire Sacred Domain's dark and white factions. For the first time ever, they joined hands in destroying him. It ended with his death somewhere around Scarlet Lightning Valley here in fact. His clansmen then vanished into thin air, never to be found. Not that it mattered since this art was something only he knew and it died with him. But by the looks of things he had passed it on. That's why you're all so sneaky in setting up a town here. The old man's face twitched hard, overwhelmed at having his secret spilled. He pointed a shaky finger at him, stammering, Who the hell are you? How do you know a 10,000-year-long secret? 10,000 years? Zhuofan mused, that bastard got me killed around 5,000 years after the Great Battle. I see, so that means that my rebirth through the 9 Serenities secret records took me 5,000 years. The old man roared at having received no answer. What are you? Why do you know? Because I was there as well. Zhuofan's eyes shone with malice. The old man gave him a baffling look. No, impossible, just how old are you? How could a mere bone-tempering cultivator have been in that battle? Geezer, I have to say your patriarch was insufferably arrogant and died. While you have learned from his lesson and kept your head down, it's a real shame how much you've fallen. You are now in the presence of the head of the 8 emperors in your sword, Emperor Ao Changtian? The old man cried out. Zhuo Fan's face sank. Since when did that old coot take the throne? I am demonic emperor. Demonic Emperor Zhao Qin? The old man didn't know restraint, crying over and over and cutting him off. Zhuo Fan gnashed his teeth. Geriatric fool, are you even listening? In the battle to hunt Liao Tianding down, that rotten punk hadn't even been born yet. I'm the head of the 8 emperors of that time. Has there ever been a demonic emperor as the head of the 8 emperors? The old man blinked, looking utterly lost. Zhuo Fan's face twitched and sighed. Old man, how old are you? Over 3,000 years. I see, Pipsqueak, you truly deserve getting killed. Zhuo Fan laughed. You've only come 2,000 years later and you've already forgotten my name? That's a death sentence right there. Then again, you ought to die regardless. Being so obscure, so withdrawn from society, with no friends or relatives in the world, no one would even notice your passing. You're practically made to die. That first reason only made it more obvious. Everyone sank in confusion. Zhuo Fan snickered. I'm saying that I'm copying your style and killing all the insignificant targets to replace them. From now on, Joy Town will be the Luo clans and you will sink into obscurity. What? They all stared blankly, then cracked up. Haha, take our town? Who do you think you are, shouting such idiotic dreams as a bone-tempering cultivator? Just because you know some old events, you think you can play the senior to intimidate us? Can't you even tell your stage? A bone-tempering cultivator gets 2 centuries at best. Who are you trying to fool by saying you were there 10,000 years ago? Brat, you almost had me with your big talk, but you're now in my trap and I will suck you dry. Yet you still have the nerve to say you'd take Joy Town from us? What a joke. Everyone laughed, looking at Zhuo Fan with nothing but scorn. No matter how much of a smooth talker you are, you should never say such idiotic things. Even calling yourself some long-lost third cousin of an emperor's second sister would have been smarter if you wanted to live. At least that would intimidate us enough to get you released. But that brash talk? No one's going to buy that obvious lie. Bam. A sudden explosion rang in their ears even as they laughed, cutting it short soon after. The soul-devouring array had just gone from pristine to total destruction in just a moment. In its place were black flames licking at the edges. What? Their smiles got frozen on their faces and their laughter got stuck in their throats. Their eyes were the only things betraying the fear and shock they felt inside. Zhuo Fan's left eye flared with a black thunder flame, his smile insufferable. Sorry, but I'm no comedian. I only know how to follow through with what I say. You're doomed. Zhuo Fan flicked his hand and a black wave shot into the sky, followed by a loud explosion and a shower of black flames. Oh. Terrible energies drew near the town folk, enclosing them and the sinister town beneath the joyful facade. A spirit king. The old man gasped, his mouth trembling. 1, 3, 20. How in the hell did so many of them come here? Who have we messed with? Sensing all those raging energy signatures and none of them on his side, the old man was in despair, with the others struck with dread. Just what emperor had they irked to send so many spirit kings to their little town? Mommy, who the hell are they? Is this an entrapment? The old man was a wreck inside, howling, everyone run. We can't take them, just run. A boom cut him off and the sky above roiled with black flames. Fang Ding and all other town folk got reduced to ashes. The old man shook all over, turning a stiff head at Zhuo Fan, to see him smirking, flooding the space with your power and controlling it. You're a spirit king as well? You got that right. Zhuo Fan grinned, raising his hand and shouting, die. The old man gnashed his teeth, roaring, I'm a peak spirit king. You won't kill me by being in the same stage as me, thousand soul possession. Wraiths howled and the air grew cold as they flouted into existence. Despite having the space under his control, the wraiths still appeared. They didn't get to survive for long as the black flames burned them down to nothing a second later. The old man was dumbstruck. What the hell is this? I'm at peak Sword King stage, so why on earth are my actions so damn useless? Geezer, you may be higher in cultivation than me, but I trump you in quality, haha. Zhuo Fan grasped and black flames howled on the old man's side, slamming into him and covering him completely. Ack. His mournful cries filled with pain and horror rent the sky as he twisted in futile attempt at survival. His eyes, however, contained nothing but confusion as he roared in defiance, Just who the hell are you? The head of the 8 emperors 5,000 years ago, demonic emperor Zhuo Yifan. Zhuo Fan's eyes shone, now the Luo clan steward, Zhuo Fan. You should be honored for dying at my hand. Ah. With one last cry, whether in regret and defiance or maybe even fear, the old man breathed his last, and his existence burned from this world. Chapter 1184, Another Change. Chapter 1184, Another Change. Proofreader, Papatonks. Roar. Draconic roars littered the sky as Dan Qingshun brought the few Luo clan spirit kings from the north side of town, killing their way in. The dragon and sword energies flared unrestrained and took down all people that tried fleeing this disaster. From the south side, Bali Yuyu turned into a demon, spreading death and destruction with her rain of swords. Murong Lai was in the east, standing guard and unleashing hell with his flames. Ouyang Lingtian came in from the west like an ice wall, freezing anyone that tried getting out and turning them into crystallized works of art. As howls and cries of agony resounded, the town's population was purged with the closing of the net. By the time the mortal domain residents entered the town proper, there was nothing but blood and body parts all over. Murong Shui felt it unbearable and searched for Zhuo Fan. Are these people as bad as you thought? Are their crimes so heinous? Ask her. Zhuo Fan shrugged and walked to the others, shouting, Clean up the place, it will be our home for a while. The men cheered and started working. Murong Shui turned to Luo Yunchang, having more pressing concerns like morality. Luo Yunchang gave her a smile as she explained what happened. Only then did the woman's worries ease. The town's cesspool of pointless killing. Like the saying went, evil beget evil. Though imps had no chance of fighting against the likes of a demonic emperor. Murong Shui turned to watch Zhuo Fan giving orders with a smile. This demon was right, he's only going after those that deserve it. The housing was distributed according to each individual's strength, placing the Luo clan's leadership and the spirit kings in the manor. They just had to touch it up a bit first, like putting up the Luo clan signboard, marking as official the switch from the Liao clan's town to the Luo clan's. Zhuo Fan found a few hidden arrays and other secret tunnels, quite convenient in fact, such that he didn't need to make any new ones. So after he handled the basic organization he went into seclusion. It was not to cultivate, but to fulfill the dear wish of his trusty guardian. Ding. The demonic sword made its appearance in a shower of black light as Zhuo Fan worked on setting up a refining array. It hovered about, shaking with excitement and entering the center before Zhuo Fan's even said anything. Zhuo Fan chuckled, Blood spirit, you were supposed to be my vital blood infant, and I only let you inside the vaulting sword to keep its nature. I'm also curious to see if I can do the impossible and combine the 5 divine swords said to never be melded as one. Even if not a sovereign weapon, the union of the 5 sword arts are best suited for me. I should be the one getting excited here, so why are you so eager then? You didn't look to have gotten much out of the combination of the first 4. Ding. The sword rang, its patience non-existent as it urged him. Fine, let's see what tricks you can do. But let me warn you, you better hang tight as the apocalyptic thunderflame burns you again. It won't be pretty though. Zhuo Fan smiled. The demonic sword swayed in excitement. Smirking, Zhuo Fan made the signs to start the array. Sword spirit renewal, 5 become 1 as a sacred weapon ascends to give birth to a sovereign weapon. Zhuo Fan's left eye released black flames, melding with the array. The air around the array warped as the black thunder flames covered it completely. The demonic sword was being cooked under the ravaging flames, shaking now and then. It was good that it couldn't speak or the room would have been echoing with its screams of torment. Zhuo Fan held out the sundering sword, now without a sword spirit, and threw it in. Crackling sounded as the demonic sword and the sundering sword melted and slowly fused. Demon Transformation Art. Zhuo Fan shouted and released a flood of black energy into the array. The black smoke engulfed the crackling flames, and as the last wave of black smoke came, it enveloped the 2 swords in darkness. The array turned into a black cocoon, with black energy swirling around its outer layer as explosions of thunder and flames echoed from within. Taking a deep breath, Zhuo Fan observed every little change in the array, his heart tense. He had never heard of a sovereign weapon even existing or anyone attempting to refine one. Although he was piggybacking on Sword Sovereign's 5 sacred weapons, he lacked an ounce of confidence. I just can't tell what will become of the fusion of the 5 sacred weapons. Will it be as before, just adding another sword, or will it go through a change? Uniting 5 sword arts has to be at the level of sword sovereign sword path, right? I'm really looking forward to it. Zhuo Fan stared hard at the writhing ball of darkness, pacing around and sweating out of anxiety. Time slipped away and flashes kept coming from within. Only about 8 hours later did they show signs of growing weaker. The flames were strong still though, while the sword was nowhere in sight. The only reason he knew it was still there was because Zhuo Fan's life was connected to the blood infant. After much hesitation, Zhuo Fan reached out, hoping to peer inside. But what if the fusing is at a critical point and my interference would ruin it? So Zhuo Fan halted, pushing down his curiosity, and waited. It took 3 whole days before Zhuo Fan ran out of patience, with the ball showing no obvious sign of stopping in the meantime. Just as he was about to stop the array, the black ball gave a mighty shudder and caused the ground to do the same. Zhuo Fan almost fell. Boom. Even the sky started rumbling and warped, with some strange cloud forming as if in a frown. Plop. In the 7 sacred mountains, an old man with white beard was perusing a script in a refined pavilion. The world then shook around him, the peak itself as well, and the sky showed multicolored clouds. Everyone cried out, "Why is this happening again? Didn't this end with the one 100 years ago? We didn't even get to understand that, and now another is coming? This is different from the last." The old man floated and turned to the others. "Look, a century ago, we couldn't even use our cultivation, unlike now." "Oh, that's right." The other elders floated at once and could finally stand upright, but the sky's changes had them confused. "It's unlike last time, but still quite similar." Pop. In a small bamboo house, a chess piece landed on the board as he turned to look at the sky outside. After so many years, someone challenging the sovereign stage appeared. "Who?" Another man spoke in a rough voice. "Do you remember the one who has the highest chance of dragging down a sovereign? Patriarch Blood Demon? Him, he had a shot but not his own path and was unable to advance. No matter how strong, he was still no match for a sovereign. Only..." Pop. Another piece fell on the board and the man said, "It can't be said the same about his blood infant." "A spirit?" "Yes, spirits are born in this world, within the scope of the 10 paths, with none having its own true path, yet having the chance of forming a sovereign path. Once one has this, one can gamble with a sovereign. If the blood infant stood independent..." "That's not possible. Who would just let their vital blood infant fly free?" The other man denied it. The first man lay another piece and sneered, "Yes, one can't gain without giving up first. This was the reason why that old man could never match a sovereign. But that's in the past. There's no sovereign path appearing, yet the change is still here, showing that someone out there has the potential. I wonder who? Is it one of his friends he brought along, perhaps? Ah, how amusing. The mortal domain is filled with talent. The more barren a place is, the more miracles it enjoys." Chapter 1185, Apocalyptic Sword Child. Chapter 1185, Apocalyptic Sword Child. Proofreader, Papatonks. Boom. The shaking kept up for 6 hours. From his room, Zhuo Fan had no way to see the changing skies, looking startled as he stared at the black ball, afraid of doing anything and ruining it all. The black ball began hissing and shrunk down to just half a meter in size, revealing a strange shape that made Zhuo Fan tense. As the ball shrank even more, the shape became clearer. Zhuo Fan's eyes jumped wider as the black ball vanished. What was revealed was a thin 7-year-old child with a darker skin tone dressed in pitch-black robes. The ball shrank only because he was absorbing it. Zhuo Fan was struck dumb. "Master." The child was so sharp that he kneeled and cupped his hands. Zhuo Fan's eyebrow jumped, staring hard at him. "Master? Then you're my vital blood infant?" "Yes, thank you so much, Master, for giving me such a strong body and offering me a vessel." The kid grinned and said in gratitude, "After the 5 sacred weapons combined, I became a sovereign weapon, and sovereign weapons can take human form. This is the reason behind my appearance. I shall never forget your grace and favor for as long as I live." The child kowtowed 3 times. Still out of it, Zhuo Fan mumbled to himself before snapping out of it, "A sovereign weapon taking human form, which means that you, as its sword spirit, are now this body's soul. I see, so that's why you were so eager to combine with the last sword. It was a way for you to become human." The child scratched his head, laughing at being found out. To be honest, Master, humans are the ultimate beings of the world. All spirits aspire to take human form, to live as they do, to dance, laugh, speak, and create. However, becoming human is fraught with dangers and perils, doubly so for spirits who are less sentient than even common spiritual beasts. I was fortunate enough that Master gathered the 5 sacred weapons and merged them, thereby creating a sovereign weapon, and giving me the means to become human. I have you to thank for all of this, Master. The child kowtowed again, filled with gratitude. Zhuofan pondered and then sighed, "My vital blood infant, you were once, but now we've grown apart, like our ties have been cut. No wonder you no longer need me to survive, as you now have a sovereign weapon for a vessel. Master, you have built me this body, making you my parent. How could I ever abandon you?" Reading between the lines, the child puffed up his chest as he declared, "Henceforth, I am your sword, guarding you and never leaving you, just like old times. The only difference is that I can now exchange actual words with Master." The child shone and turned into a pitch-black sword, floating towards Zhuofan as it glittered. Unlike its previous form, when it had a trace from every sword, all signs of the other swords were removed by adding the 5th one. Zhuofan paused before growing solemn. "You have your own body and your fate is yours to decide. You have finally gained freedom after following me for so many years. Are you content with never wandering the great world outside? Just tell me the truth. We've been so close for so long, so I won't make it hard for you. Master, your cold treatment is because you don't believe me, or that you don't believe yourself." Whoosh. The demonic sword turned back into a child, his gaze firm. Zhuofan paused and found it to be the same look he had. "I am Master's vital blood infant and never had a sense of self, my survival depending on Master. Only with time have I gained a personality within you, Master. That means all my habits and quirks have come from you, even your heart. I am another Master while you are yourself. If Master owes no favor, does that mean I do? Master is giving his all to help the Luo clan, and I will give my all to be at your side every step of the way, nothing more, nothing less." Zhuofan jerked, giving him a long look. "Everything this child knows comes from me. He's like another me. I am never one to be an ingrate, and neither is he. He is a replica of my own personality, so what's there to doubt? He ceased to be my blood infant, but became my strongest companion, a loyal guardian sword." Zhuofan smiled, "Then you will be my sword child, guarding my side." "Yes, Master." Sword child nodded with a bright smile. Zhuofan nodded, then paused, giving him an odd look. "Sword child, would you still be loyal to me even with all the heinous and treacherous acts I'll be doing?" "Oh, that, like I said, I learned everything from you and I am just like you. You betray, then I betray. Or maybe, even if you might not let me go, I'll just off you and go my way. Then I'll do the same as you, resort to heinous acts to get what I want. It's that simple." "SSS." Zhuofan gasped, his heart shuddering, then he patted his chest. "All right, at least I'm a man of principle and won't stoop so low and wallow in filth. Or I wouldn't just be losing a divine sword, but gaining a powerful enemy." Zhuofan walked out, his thoughts racing, trying to recall if he had ever betrayed himself. The kid better not have copied that as well and treat me the same. Talk about getting what I deserve. Sword child beamed behind him, though he was a little restless. "Sword child, how is your strength? Before refining, I've been growing alongside you. If you got stronger, so did I, therefore I am a mid-stage spirit king like you." "Oh, then do you know any special skills? Don't tell me you know all of mine as well." "No, I can't use Divine Eye of the Void nor the Apocalyptic Thunder Flame. Though I took all of the 5 arts you comprehended and combined them into a 6th. Sixth. The Apocalyptic Sword Art." Zhuofan talked while walking. "I need to be cautious, not only against enemies but also taking precautions with myself. It's a must." The two left their room and met with the Luo clan's higher-ups waiting at the door. Seeing Zhuofan come out with someone half his size left them stunned. Hasn't he been in there for 3 days? Why is there a child by his side? Did he make him himself? That's no laughing matter. Like 3 days are enough to bring a child into the world. It takes 10 months at the least. Knock it off. You think that's the problem, how a man birthed a child that grew up so fast? Maybe there's a hidden tunnel in his room through which the kid sneaked in? Not possible. I've been on guard every minute on the hour ever since Steward Zhua entered seclusion. There's not a fly going past me without my knowing, let alone a child. Everyone started a heated debate over this very crucial topic. Zhuofan snickered, "What are you all doing here? Did something happen? Steward Zhua, the world started shaking and the sky changed colors. We came to see if you were fine. Li Jingtian bowed. Zhua Fan waved his concern away. I'm fine, so you can return. Our cultivation has been soaring recently and needs time to stabilize. After that, we have big things ahead of us. We know. They all nodded with no plan on leaving, their curious eyes glued to Sword Child. Catching on to their obvious curiosity, he made the introduction. He's my personal guard, the apocalyptic Sword Child. Personal guard. They all started. Steward Zhua, you need a guard at your level? That means he can't be too far behind your strength. A pipsqueak. Yeah, Dad, if you really wanted one, pick me instead. Gu Santong gave Zhua Fan an odd look. Bang. Zhua Fan knocked on his head, chiding, You dare say that about others? Which 6-year-old, I wonder, lorded about in Tianyu like he owned it? How is that the same? I'm a Qilin. Gu Santong puffed up his chest in pride. Pa. A dark and thin palm landed on his shoulder. Young Master San, a spar will make everything clearer. Ha ha ha. Gu Santong shook, meeting a pair of black eyes and an evil smirk. Mommy, he has the same look as Dad. Is he some long-lost son out of wedlock? Gu Santong jumped in fright. Chapter 1186, Qilin vs. Sovereign Weapon. Chapter 1186, Qilin vs. Sovereign Weapon. Proofreader, Papatonks. Place your bets. No take-backs. The Joy Town that had been bathed in blood was once again filled with noise, only this time, it happened 100 miles outside of it, in a valley. Qiu Yinhai even had a stall set up as he shouted, We're all friends here, people, so don't be shy and place your bets to make this place livelier. Our young Master San has a 1 to 3 odds, and on the other side we have Steward Zhua's secret guard, the apocalyptic Sword Child, 1 to 5 odds. All bets are now open. People already gathered around and started taking out all their valuables. The stall was packed with pills, spiritual weapons and all kinds of super rare ingredients. With a bang, a large scarlet wine jar creaked the stall's boards. Everyone knew then and there who was the weirdo behind such an exotic bet. Qiu Yinhai's face twitched, turning to the wine sword immortal's red nose. Senior, while I did say there's no limit to make it livelier, but you can't just take out some jar of wine? That's like 10 spirit stones tops. You call this 10 spirit stones? What you see right here is an aged and fine wine of the Murong clan. I made the trip to their home just to get it before coming with you all. It's always on high demand. The only reason I'm willing to part with such a great wine is seeing you all so fired up. Wine Sword Immortal patronized. Qiu Yinhai shook his head. Fine, I'll write down 10 sacred stones on account of your seniority. Now who will you be betting on? Isn't it obvious? Steward Zhua's young Master San. The Wine Sword Immortal chuckled. With all the action going on so far, everyone knows of Gu Santong's strength, no less than ours. And since we've gotten to the sacred domain, everyone reached the Spirit King stage while his power had to have improved as well. As for that Sword Child, he doesn't look like much, so I'd rather be on the safe side and stick with young Master San. Everyone nodded in approval. Rather than taking a risk on an unknown fighter, they'd play it safe by betting on Gu Santong. A zither then slammed on the stall, followed by a casual voice, I'm betting on Sword Child. Lu Mubai. The Wine Sword Immortal gave him an odd look. You know his strength to bet on him? Lu Mubai snickered as he shook his head. Nope, but for Zhua Fan to make him a personal guard, that should be proof enough, right? In fact, I find young Master San awfully rash for taking on his challenge just like that. Knowing the enemy is what gets you victory. While he is an open book, the opponent is sealed shut. That's why the Sword Child has a higher chance at winning. Makes sense, exactly what I'd expect from the Zither Sword King who bid his time to exact revenge for his clan, calculative and observant. The others lit up and switched their bets from Gu Santong to the Sword Child. The Wine Sword Immortal licked his dried lips as he moved his wine jar as well. Lu Mubai, I'll trust you on this, but you better pay me back if I lose. Sure, and my Zither is also among those bets, ha. Lu Mubai didn't mind it, looking at the fighters on their peaks with a smile. Ever since the Empire fell, he had felt so relieved having his wish granted and also brighter in his demeanor. On the side where there was constant cheering, Zhua Fan, Luo Yunhai and the rest were standing on a hill and watching the two filled with battle lust. Luo Yunhai said, Big brother Zhua, who is the Sword Child? Can he take on young Sanzi? He should. Zhua Fan said, Young Sanzi became an early-stage spirit king after coming to the sacred domain, but the sword child is my demonic sword transformed with half my skills. In fact, he should have all my skills besides my eyes. He shouldn't lose out against young Sanzi. What? They all shouted, he's that divine sword. Sure is, and precisely because he's not human, but a spirit in a sword, we can't see his cultivation. Zhuofan nodded. In his words, he's the same as me, a mid-stage spirit king. As for his strength, we'll just have to wait and see. Letting young Sanzi fight is the perfect chance. The others nodded, with Chaoer sadly staring at Gu Santong. Brother, do be careful, the kid is father's sword and not human. In a fight between a divine sword and sacred beast, victory might not be so easy. Gu Santong was totally in the dark about his opponent's nature, judging him by his young appearance, that he was still too young. If he's a sacred beast, his form means he's not matured yet. If he's a human, then that makes him weak as a lamb. So he boasted, kid, we're on the same side, so I'll give you the chance to walk away. I won't judge you for it, nor make it hard on you for father. Young Sanzi, you're as cocky as ever. The sword child smirked. Even as a sacred beast, you're now in sacred domain and only an adolescent. There are plenty of people that can kill you. I'll just help father by giving you a fair warning so the next time you go out, you'll be a bit cautious and not lose your life. Gu Santong shook, giving him an odd look. Is he really Dad's son? His tone, his style, his arrogance, they're practically the same. All the others gave Zhuofan strange looks. Steward Zhua, that's a miniature version of you in child form. Zhuofan smiled. The sword child had taken everything from me, resembling me more than a son. Gu Santong saw no reaction from Zhuofan and made up his mind. It doesn't look like the kid is close to Dad and I can set him straight. He put on a mean face and smirked. I could accept it coming from Dad, but from a pipsqueak? It sounds more like a taunt. We'll see who beats who soon enough. Gu Santong shot forth and his fist glowed scarlet as he struck at sword child. Though it was obvious there was some restraint, leaving a third of his strength behind. Though Gu Santong still thought it excessive and brought it down to just half his strength. Young Master San, just let loose and come at me with everything. I can easily take it. The sword child smirked, his eyes set as a red glow shot from his finger and at Gu Santong's fist. Whoosh! A sword wave soared. It clashed with Gu Santong's first, letting out a deafening boom. Gu Santong shuddered all over and got pushed back 100 meters. His gaze now horrified as he turned to sword child, soaring sword art and at peak strength? How do you have such power? Only Dad can unleash it to this level. He inherited Steward Zhua's sword skills fully, worthy of being his sword. Shengguan Feixiong's eyes shook in admiration. Zhuofan grinned, he was connected with me body and mind till now. It's normal to know the 5 sword arts. And from what he told me he also learned a 6th one. Now that's something I'd like to see. 6th. Shengguan Feixiong and the others nodded. Right, with Steward Zhua learning the sword arts to the peak, his divine sword spirit has to be even sharper, able to combine the 5 arts. Now I'm also looking forward to seeing it, haha. They all laughed, looking eager as the battle unfolded. At the betting stall, all those who were about to bet on Gu Santong shifted to the other guy. Qiu Yanhai cursed, what do you think you're doing? Have you no ethics? Saying you'd take it and leave it, but now that young Master San is lacking you switch tunes? Fat chance. Damn it, I only lost that exchange and now they've all lost their faith in me? How mortifying, I got to up my game. Gu Santong's face twitched hearing Elder Qiu's shouts, anger getting to him as he shot for sword child. Lousy brat, I was going easy on you but no more. Get ready, haha. Gu Santong's hands shook and struck at the air. Boom. It felt like the world was collapsing as the air warped from all the shaking. It got so strong, black scars appeared in space, spreading fast towards the sword child. The cracking sounds jarring to the ears. The audience gasped. The space fractured. Doesn't that mean letting a scar touch you would tear you to pieces? This is too much. Gu Santong's past attempt with this move only warped the air. Now though he was at the Spirit King level and could warp space. Space was the place where everything existed. By rupturing it, then the space being occupied would be torn to shreds. Steward Zhua, it's turning deadly. Everyone turned to Zhuofan. He was still just looking with a smile, the kid ain't human, making no difference even if the sky got torn apart. The others exclaimed. But of course he's a divine sword. The space rupturing won't affect him. Chapter 1187, Fatality. Chapter 1187, Fatality. Proofreader, Papatonks. Condense. The spatial crack struck at the sword child like a viper, the blackness therein promising to swallow him whole. Sword child couldn't care less, evident by his smirk as he shouted and flicked his hand. A cold wind blew and the encroaching scars slowly lost their speed until they froze in place, with a trace of ice even revealed on them. Gu Santong gasped, heaven-sealing sword art. Ha, yes, I am Master Sword. Any sword art he knows, I know. That's why, young Master San, feel free to come at me with everything. The sword child smiled, finally going for Gu Santong. He waved a finger and flames exploded into an inferno. The black gaps in space merged with the flames and slowly healed. With the path cleared between the two, the sword child had an easy time shooting for Gu Santong's face to poke him with a crackling finger. Gu Santong's face twitched and stepped back while using his fist to defend, decimating sword art and sundering sword art. How is it you know all my dad's 5 sword arts to perfection? No son could ever do so much. Who are you? I told you I'm Master Sword. Bam. Gu Santong unleashed his full power at long last, his fist sending a scarlet wave that struck at the purple thundersword wave. The intense clash had crushed 40 mountains around the area to dust. Gu Santong shuddered, forced to step back from the aftermath. The sword child laughed as the shock wave came, pointing at Gu Santong. I am a divine sword in body, not of flesh and blood. I don't fear my insides getting jolted, not when I haven't got any. That's where a sacred beast differs from me. Vaulting sword, dragon soar. With a draconic cry, the sword child pressed his advantage, sending another sword wave with his finger. This time, Gu Santong barely got himself steady to brace for impact. All he could do in the end was punch back. Bam. Gu Santong's hasty punch lacked his full power and was once again pushed back. The sword child smiled, standing still. Most cultivators would try to settle the rattling inside them before the damage mounts instead of unleashing strikes so fast. I don't have such a problem. I could hound you and kill you in just 10 moves, all while you couldn't even defend. The outcome is clear and there's no point of fighting, haha. What a deadly sword. The audience gasped in shock. Steward Zhua, a humanoid divine sword, is so dangerous, bereft of weaknesses. His body is even stronger than a sacred beast, unheard of. Zhuafan nodded. Yeah, even I didn't think young Sanzi would lose so fast. That's why the sword child was so thankful for me refining him such a body. As a divine sword, it's truly godlike. I wonder if there's anything out there that can hold him back. Zhuafan mused. He has everything I have except for the eyes. Everyone was grave. The sword child is simply monstrous. But what if he turns on us? He called himself Zhuafan's sword, but that was a weapon in the end, one that had no will but to follow its master's intent. But with a kid as he is. Steward Zhua, he's got your smugness to a T. Lung Wuchang pointed out, though he looks rather young and youngsters tend to have overblown egos. Zhuafan nodded. Yes, he's just like me. Only that in my early years I was restrained, more ruthless than brash. He has no constraints, and while he is a second me, we will most likely walk different paths, and he needs someone to watch over him. Brilliant, Steward Zhua. Lung Wuchang nodded. Zhuafan's eyes turned frosty as he observed the fight. Gu Santong was a powder keg ready to pop from being pushed around so much. He roared then and, in a flash of red, the image of a 300-meter Qilin appeared overhead. Its roar shaking the world. The spirit kings felt their hearts seize from shock. Young Master San wants to go all out, making everything shake. Can the sword child take it? I'll just bet this wine jar on young Master San. Wine Sword Immortal got shocked as well and switched his bet again, with many others following him. Only Lu Mubai and a few others were relaxed. Wine Sword Immortal, you're gonna be sorry. Check out the sword child's look. Wine Sword Immortal turned and only now noticed that despite Gu Santong raging and roaring, the sword child held nothing but disdain in his eyes. Young Master San, since you don't know a helping hand when you see one, you leave me no choice. The sword child's eyes shone and raised a finger. A black power gathered. You went all out, so you should have a look at my 6th sword art, apocalyptic sword strength. The prideful Gu Santong's eyes shook, unable to take the other's naked taunt. He roared and his power surged before he punched with both fists, Lousy brat, have a taste of this upheaval, a soaring Qilin's might. The piercing howl rang in everyone's ears as the Qilin image opened its maw. It then shot for the sword child with fury burning in its eyes, ready to burn the world if it had to. Come on. The sword child snickered, the black sword wave ready as he struck. Oh. It was anticlimactic how plain it was launched with no fuss, like a breeze tracing the air. The sword wave, however, erased everything in its path, even the dust, from existence. The sword wave looked flimsy by all accounts, yet it struck fear in the hearts of all who watched. It was not total destruction and explosiveness that was scary, but the silent yet decimating moves that could take lives without leaving a sign. Zhuofan was out for 2 seconds before he came to and understood the gap between the fighters. Sword child, stop this right now. Too little too late. The black sword wave reached young Sanzi's Qilin image, but there was no bang, not even a fizzle. The black wave passed through the image, making it pause before fading away, purged from this world. Young Sanzi coughed blood at the backlash, looking pale, but the black wave was coming with death behind it. Young Sanzi panicked, everyone panicked. This is fatality. Sword child, didn't you hear me? I told you to stop. Zhuofan shouted in anger. Sword child's brow shook and gave a cruel smile at the panicked face, with no intention of stopping. The space started warping then with the sword child at its center. He looked back at Zhuofan with a frown, only to see his cold gaze and the 7 golden halos in his right eye. Master, don't. Divine Eye of the Void 7th stage Void Seal, Zhuofan muttered. Whoosh. The space contracted, and the sword child shook as his eyes went blank and collapsed. He turned back into the pitch-black sword with a dim glow. It showed no signs of being alive. The black sword wave coming at Gu Santong faded away just in time as well, making him breathe easier for having escaped with his life. That strike is deadly, no less than Dad's apocalyptic thunder flame. Chapter 1188, Advancing Again. Chapter 1188, Advancing Again. Proofreader, Papatonks. Thump. Zhuofan walked over to the apocalyptic sword and picked it up with a sigh. You really are me, but only the young me, twisted, conceited and obnoxious. Ah, foolish boy, you thought by having a sovereign weapon body I couldn't take you on? The 5 divine swords were affected by the divine eye of the void, and this form isn't any different. Think long and hard about this. Zhuofan made a seal and the demonic sword entered his body. And you, young Sanzi, there's always someone better than you out there. This will be your lesson. Zhuofan walked to Gu Santong and warned. Gu Santong hung his head, giving a heavy nod. I know, Dad. I won't be as arrogant again. You've said that 100 times already. Why would I believe you this time? Ah, you'll learn the more you suffer. Zhuofan shook his head. The others came over and bowed. Steward Zhua, how will you handle the sword child? He's a loose cannon. I'll handle it, don't worry. Zhuofan soothed their fears. With these few days of peace, we found a temporary residence in the sacred domain. To grow bigger, however, we must first take down one of the 8 emperors. That being said, I'll be setting out to get a feel of the sacred domain's current situation to remove all unknowns. Wait for my message and be ready to move. Won't it be too dangerous to go alone? Yeah, I'll come with you. Luo Yunchang spoke up, with Bali Yuyu stepping forth. Zhuofan calmed them down. It's fine. The sacred domain is my world. I know it better than any of you. I have enough strength to survive even an encounter with an emperor. Rest assured that I'll be all right. Shuanger, come over for a minute. Zhuofan called Yun Shuang to remain after the others were now at ease, and whispered, Did you finish what I asked you to do? Did you divine her location? Yun Shuang's brow shook. For some reason, I am blind to Sister Qingqing's fate, just like yours. Patriarch said that you lost something. Did you give it to her? Can it hide one's fate? The sovereign path. Zhuofan squinted and asked ardently, How else am I supposed to find her? Where do I start searching the big sacred domain without so much as a clue? Shuanger bit her lip. Forgive me for being unable to help, but what? You alone can find her. Me? Yang. I know nothing of reading the stars. Didn't Patriarch give you something? It will guide you towards what or who you want to find. Slightly explained, Patriarch also mentioned that what you're looking for is yours. The two of you would be drawn to each other. By using the item, you'll find it and Sister Qingqing. Zhuofan thought for a bit and nodded. I see, Sovereign Yun gave me the black sphere for this purpose. But how do I use it? Figure it out yourself. I surely don't know. Yin Shuang shrugged. Zhuo Fan sighed and nodded, his eyes blazing with determination. I'll try it as I go. Now I need to get away so the fear of the sword child caused will fade. I must also teach that boy some manners. Zhuo Fan cupped his hands to her and the rest, leaving. The others gave him a respectful goodbye as well, while only a red-nosed old man just wouldn't let go of a jar of wine, crying like his parents were dead, like an old woman. My precious wine, I could never leave you. How could my foolproof mind ever conceive the risk of betting on Gu Santong? Senior, betting is business. You made the wrong wager, so I can't help you. Now let go. The wine sword immortal wailed like a child while Qiu Yinhai fought to try and pry the drunkard's fingers from the jar. With their gap in cultivation, no amount of effort helped in the end. Zhuo Fan's face twitched and gave the two geezers a long look. What was I thinking bringing these fools? Zhuo Fan left as the rest sent him off. After a good distance, he looked around and found a deserted cave, setting up an array to hide himself as he took out Sovereign Yun's black orb. Looking into the sacred domain situation was more of a whim, while finding Chu Qingqing was his real goal. He couldn't have said that to the guys since they came with him to a new world to settle down, not help him find his woman. How could their de facto leader ever do such a petty and irresponsible thing? When they found out he was up to no good, going on a hike, they might just as well go out and meet their fortune elsewhere. A remarkable leader had to, at all times, inspire fairness and grandeur. As for looking after my family and other private stuff, that goes behind doors, hee. Taking out the black orb, Zhuo Fan stared hard. Qingqing, where are you? And how do you start this thing anyway? Sovereign Yun, what a guy, giving me the tools but not the manual. Where do I even start? Zhuo Fan whined. As he stared deep into the orb, his gaze grew hazy and the darkness inside the orb swirled, pulling him in. Oh. Zhuo Fan shuddered and his eyes went black. He plopped on the ground with eyes wide open, coming to his senses the next moment, only to find himself surrounded by stars in a black space. Stars flew by him so close, he could reach them with his hands. Where am I? What am I doing here? Zhuo Fan jerked around and then recalled, Sovereign Yun's place was the same. My mind must have entered the orb. Is this how you use the treasure? But how am I supposed to find her now? Zhuo Fan frowned, looking up at the glittering stars in doubt while he paced around in thought. Yun Clan's holy maiden can read the heavens through the stars. Sovereign Yun reads mortals' fate through the stars as well. Maybe to find Qingqing I have to understand the stars' motions? Should I go to Shuanger for tips? But it looks more like a trait than an art. Yun Clan's leader is the only one able to do it. What to do? Zhuo Fan stared at the sky in a dilemma. His face began slacking as he took in the stars' glows, noticing something peculiar. Kid, humans are the ultimate beings of the world, the basic of all other things. Humans hold 360 small cosmoses within that work in tune with the universe. Each person has a protector star. When you observe the skies, you are in fact looking at their fate. Your eyes do not see the starry night sky, but the universe's cycle of reincarnation. To find what you seek, use your heart and you will grasp it. An aged voice whispered in his ears, making his heart jump and focus harder on the stars. Zhuo Fan stared blankly, ignoring everything, time itself, as he gazed upon the stars and their movements. His yuan qi began moving along with the stars, in strange and baffling patterns. At one point he realized the stars melded with him. Looking at the stars was like looking at his body's innards. The flow of blood, breathing, all made his organs shake, understanding it all. I want to find Qingqing. As he grasped everything, his heart throbbed and the stars followed his wish. His senses perceived as the brightest 9 stars formed a line, shooting eastward. 9 stars in a row, deceiving the heavens and changing fate, hidden from a sovereign's power. She's in the east. Zhuo Fan lit up and shook awake. He got up and found the black orb at his side. Putting it away, Zhuo Fan was in high spirits as he shot out of the cave. He noticed it was dark then, with the stars in the sky being the same ones he saw in the orb, and the brightest 9 forming a line. Was it the black orb affecting the stars, or did they reflect what was in the black orb? Or maybe Zhuo Fan was controlling them? Confused, Zhuo Fan felt stunned. Hot damn, I advanced again, I'm now a late-stage spirit king. What's more important was that his surface cultivation level had dropped to the first layer of bone tempering stage. My heart grew once more. that you're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.